Keep spawning culture. Hey y'all, it's Andrew Reed with Samantha Reed, Mossy Creek Mushrooms, and we're going to try something new, because that's what this episode is all about, something new. Constant new things. I'm talking, if you enter the studio, you might be able to hear me live. And you might want to take yourself off of anything. Is there a delay for you?
Yes, and it's chaos.
Okay, well, this is new, so it's going to be difficult. But we're going to figure this stuff out. Okay, get that away from your microphone. You might want to put it on your head. I apologize, guys. This is Andrew Reed. We're going to have some people on, or a sponsor on with us. We're going to try our r/ segment. We're going to try a YouTube segment and a bunch of other stuff. Just bear with us because, again, I wanted to do this whole crapshoot thing all at once so we can figure out a bunch of things. Ed says technical difficulties. I know anything, but I don't know anything about that.
I can't do it.
Then
I'll go insane.
Then why don't you lower the volume so that I'm not hearing myself repeated? And then why don't you see if you can figure out how to get it to where it's linked up just right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate it. That's better. Hey, welcome, GDB. Owen, from Ed to Mossy Creek. You got to love it. Yeah, I was just watching Ed as well while I was putting together stuff for this. So Art Bell would not approve. I don't know what that is. Do you know what Art Bell is? Okay. I don't know what that is, but it's all good. I'm on island time. Well, we're going to get this figured out. I'm trying to get to where Samantha can be in the studio with us, and she can hear without there being a delay. Do you have it playing in the background? Is that perhaps what's going on?
I don't know.
Do you on your YouTube? Do you have YouTube open? And are you perhaps hearing it twice because you have YouTube's delay?
You so smart.
I know I'm smart. That's what makes me special.
Okay.
Now try it, and you might have to turn the volume back up to see. I think I might have just figured out a problem. I'm the switch flipper, whatever. No, switch flipper. Yeah, I'm the switch flipper. I sit in a car. The first thing I do is flip every switch, press every button. Oh, my goodness. And I knew it would work. Look at that smile she's got. I'm going to get to dirty, sexy time later.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Andrew.
She likes it when I problem solve. She likes me for my big brain. So anyways, we're getting off the rails really quick, guys. I apologize.
Yeah,
Samantha got me a coffee this morning before my latte, and now I'm all caffeinated up, and people don't know what that's going to do to us. Gosteria B. I don't know what that is. All the buttons all the time. That's right, Brittany. I press all the buttons all the time. Yeah, and I feel you. Technical difficulties. Like any of us mycologists would ever know anything about that. All right, guys. Now that we've got it, we're going to get it really, really good. Let's see. All righty. We have some cool things going on. One of the first things that I want to do is just say hello to everybody. I want to wait until we get a few people coming in. Looks like we got some people on Facebook, a couple of people on X, and some YouTubers coming in. So welcome to everybody. All right, now that we have an official start going on, we have, again, the things that we talked about last week, I've worked on this week. So I've picked a video for us to go over on YouTube so that we can do a segment on where we just kind of go through and discuss someone's op. This by no means means that I am being overly critical or judgmental. Maybe I'm being critical but not judgmental of their operation. So I just want to make sure that's clear before we go into it. So when these videos play, okay, am I having problems?
Glitch.
I don't know. It kind of glitched. So anyway, once the video comes on, just remember that this video could be a year old, it could be 2 years old, it could be several years old. I don't know. And so what we're criticizing is and going over is their op in the state that it was, not the state that it is. So we got to remember that kind of stuff for sure. For educational purposes only. That's right. Yeah, this is for educational purposes only. Do not go contact these people and tell them Andrew Reed said your op is awful, because I'm not going to do that, number one. And number two, I don't think anybody's op is awful. We all have different things that we're dealing with, different skill sets, different resources, etc. And we all work. I mean, I bootstrapped my way up. Samantha bootstrapped her way up. You know, we did it together. And I had resources that others didn't. But then I lacked a lot of resources that others have. So, you know, don't even talk to me about my electrode boiler steamer that Ben built for us that we used to have to set a watch for, and all that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff is the stuff of nightmares. Now, someone said, Brittany said, allegedly. Exactly. Allegedly. All right. So, here we go. Oh, actually.
Pretty sure that was allegedly.
Oh, cool. Look at that. I've actually got you on here. But now I'm going to leave you in the backstage just because there is an echo when you're pulled up. But I like this. I like this a lot, actually. That's kind of neat. Well, that's super cool.
You can see my double chin that way.
Oh, my goodness. Of course, the first thing she does is criticize herself. Suck it in. Justin says, I feel the same way with caffeine, Andrew. I had a ground cordyceps in my coffee maker earlier. I'm wound it up. Yeah, no kidding, man. Cordyceps and coffee, which I did take cordyceps this morning with my coffee. And holy crap, it just makes me feel like I've got lightning in the veins. It makes me want to listen to heavy metal and not wreck stuff, but wreck stuff in a way that builds stuff. You know what I mean? So, okay.
Organized chaos.
It will not click over. There's a horrendous. Hold on. I've got to close a couple things out because I think I am slowing the computer down. There we go. That ought to take care of a couple things. What if you did reviews of some of our operations that we send you videos? I think that would be interesting as well. I would love that, David. That's actually something I was going to suggest this week, is that maybe if you guys start sending me stuff, this can be like a free consultation. I'll go through and I'll tell you things I think about your op, ways that you can improve. This serves me by producing content, which I'll be able to cut up into a bunch of shorts. Now, we'll have to get you to... I mean, if you're getting on here and you're sending it to me, then I probably don't need you to sign a waiver. But, you know, we'll definitely do that. I think that we can make that an absolute segment. So, you know, so-and-so sends me this thing. I've actually got one that I've got to go over from an op in Mongolia. Hopefully will join us soon. If he gives me permission to share it, we can go over his op together. So that'd be pretty neat to do as well. We have the glorious Jen. She said break time, new look, sold. I'll take you up on that. Awesome, Brittany. Yeah, send us the video. We'll do it. Oh my goodness, this thing is definitely creating a delay. Now, here in a little bit, we got a sponsor coming on for a new tool that I'm going to talk about. what he's doing. It's a liquid culture related, so we'll kind of get into that as well. We'll have him on, and this is my test on having remote guests. So this will be the first time that we're doing this, and he'll discuss with us for 10, 15 minutes or so about this, and we'll have also r/. That's going to be the other thing as well. I picked Myco because I've got a friend that runs it, and he gave me permission to dig around in his group. 1 week after shoulder replacement surgery, your image is blurry. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know why it seems to be blurry for everyone else. I am projecting at 1080p is what I've got at. So I do seem to be having a little bit of issues, but I'm clear as day here in mine. So
Do you think that if I were to jump off, it might clear it?
no, it shouldn't have anything to do with yours. No, I mean I'm 1080p. I'm clear. Even on my YouTube here. No, my YouTube it's definitely. You might need to click 1080p. I don't know. Go into your settings, hit HD. No, that didn't clear mine up either. I appreciate you telling me that. I definitely Streamlabs is blurry. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. We'll see if we can't figure this. All right. Just reset it. I don't know if that's going to help any. Slightly laggy. Confirm is blurry. I think this is something to do with YouTube's stream here. Because it says that I'm at 1080p going out. When I go to my connections, sounds better now. Okay, sounds better. Let's see. Well, this is really annoying. Okay. Well, let me try something else then real quick.
It's cleared up for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is a YouTube server thing. Yeah, right here. Connection is unstable.
Again.
We have a lot of...
Oh.
Okay. Looks... Someone just said...
Painful.
Here now. Okay. Okay, there we go. Now it's back again. I don't understand. It's got to... Yeah, it's got to be YouTube. Sound is good. Visuals crap. YouTube isn't good. Well, yeah, that's fair. The people on my Facebook... Oh, I've only got one person on Facebook now. If you can comment please, and let me know if it's clear there. But it seems like it's getting better. Or was. It's changing stream quality back and forth from 460 to 1080p and back. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be the YouTube stream. Did we lose Eric? No, okay, cool. It just where you were standing still, I thought you were frozen because you're just a tiny little icon in the backstage. Okay, so we're all good now, folks. What was I saying, Samantha? Do you remember when I was going through all that? Oh, it's about the r/ and how Foxy said that I could go through their r/. And so we're gonna look at that Myco. He's told me it's a total crap show over there. So it's gonna be neat to really see because that their literal plan over there is to just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, right? So we'll kind of see how that goes, what everything looks like.
That's how you get a lot of the more interesting, aggressive results.
I agree with that 100%. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that's right. We talked about that. Sounds better now. Thank you, Archie. I appreciate that. What do I think about genetic editing CRISPR-Cas9? I mean, I love the idea of genetic editing. In particular, certain case usages of this. So, for one instance, I'm not so stoked about the idea of, and I'm not saying that CRISPR did this, but the pig DNA and the salmon, and then them escaping from their sea cages and then blending in with the rest of the population and spreading pig DNA. I know it's not as simple as that, but throughout the population and changing the potential genetic population, potential genetics of the population. I'm not so sold on that. But when it comes to stuff like, is it the American chestnut, where they've gone through and they used it to bring in a single gene from the Chinese chestnut, to the American chestnut, and give it immunity to the chestnut blight that was destroying the American chestnut. Now this American chestnut tree is still 99.9999999% American chestnut, and we only have that one single gene to save the species. That's a great use, just a great use of that technology.
Chef's kiss.
Yes, right. I'm not against using it to, let's say, breed, to genetically engineer, not breed, genetically engineer bigger, better salmon, or even sligs. If you guys have read, like God Emperor of Dune, you know what a slig is. It's a part slug, part pig kind of thing that's used so that you can literally feed it garbage and then make succulent pork meat. But I'm not against making these things, but I am against their release into wild populations of the only planet that we have. Like if we had a moon base or a Mars base with a dome where we were genetically engineering stuff, fully testing it and things like that, maybe never ever bringing it back to Earth, just using it to farm salmon that way or something like that, I'm completely cool with that kind of stuff. But Earth being the only planet that we know with life, it's best not to tinker with that until we know a lot more. So right, so just to skip over what he was saying there, that's genetic modification with crossing two different unrelated species, where genetic editing is just changing what is already within the genome. So I am absolutely all right with editing. Right. The reason why I went to the answer I did is because not everybody knows that difference. But so I didn't know if you did or not, Archie. But you're very welcome. But I'm very cool with genetic editing. Genetic modification is definitely something I want to be much more careful with. So excellent. Do you all still offer the consultation program? Jake, we absolutely do. I was talking to our web designer who is currently building out the new website. So the store is not the way the store is going to be later on. We are putting the mentorship and consultation page up sometime soon. But if you want to, you can go ahead and just reach out to me via email, and I can just PayPal invoice you for the time and schedule you manually. But we'll have that to where you can schedule yourselves. I'll have certain calendar dates open, and you guys can just order and pick from that, like it used to be. Just get my consultations that way. So,
then,
same with the mentorships.
Hopefully, to also have everything in one place, whereas before, am I messed up? Whereas before, you would go onto the website and then basically look at the week on what was the calendar?
What calendar?
The calendar that we paid for monthly.
I don't remember.
I think it was Calendly or something like that. And so you would look at the calendar, pick a week that was open. There's a delay. It's messing me up. Okay.
If you're talking
and
about
then you would
second,
go through PayPal and pay by calling Andrew. So now we're hoping that everything is in one spot and it'll be just nice and easy.
Right. What I said. I mean, what she said. All right. Let's see. Okay. So starting with that, I think it's a good idea because Eric is waiting. I think it's a good idea for us to do our go with Eric first. If Eric's ready, Eric, you good to go? Excellent. Okay. So I'm gonna bring him on right now. A word from our sponsor. No. There's Eric. Hey, well, welcome, Eric.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's so good to see you guys.
You too, man. It actually feels like a while, doesn't it?
It's been too long.
Absolutely. For those who don't know, Eric, can you give me just a short background on yourself?
I am a mushroom enthusiast, and I happen to, in my career, in my day job, I'm a 3D artist and designer, and I basically make objects and solve weird problems for manufacturing and what have you. So that's the short term. But mushroom enthusiast is the only way to really describe my relationship with mushrooms. I kind of got into it because I saw Paul Stemmetz's TED Talk almost 16 years ago when I was teaching at university. So yeah.
I got you. Okay, and then, excuse me. And then you are now working on the Myco Mixer, or have worked on the Myco Mixer, I guess is what we're calling it.
Yeah, it's about it. We've been working on it. I've been working on it for about 3 years. It's taken a lot longer than I ever would have expected. But yeah, we've now got a viable mixing and maceration tool for liquid culture. Sam and you have been testing it. I think we're up to 9 jars, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some extraordinary things outside of the requirements that or the goals we were trying to meet with its creation, which the primary goals were things like stable maceration, autoclavable, food safe, anything to break up the globules of liquid culture without destroying the hyphae. Am I saying that right?
Yes, yeah. The mycelium, either one would work.
Mycelium, yeah. And we've the version you guys are working with is a prototype, which is somewhere around the 42nd iteration of this product, and the 43rd will actually be the product that we're going to be selling and marketing. You guys are actually working with the one right before the final product, because it took a long time to find a magnet manufacturer that could encapsulate the magnets with PTFE to keep it food safe. Luckily, our swivels and our Myco Mixer itself, actually, all that's made here in the States. In fact, it's going to be made in Connecticut, which I'm really happy about. Sadly, the magnets have to come through a distributor out of Massachusetts who has to order them from China, and that was a learning experience and a half. Apparently, the United States doesn't make magnets.
Yeah, not. I don't know if we ever did. There was certainly got to be a time when we did.
Yeah, but we've got a couple of videos, and I have the test jar here. I'm just going to pull this out, and we'll show the video. But that's going to be our Myco Mixer, and this is actually one of several versions we're working on.
Yeah,
so
let me see if I can. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, this will play. So it's playing alongside of us right now. I've just edited it where I've got a few different little sections here.
Yeah. The one on the far left is actually one of the first versions you guys got to play with. It taught us a lot of things that scared me about the product, because originally we were using actually these are all an earlier version than the one I think you're working with now.
Right.
This used a glass encapsulated magnet. We found out that had a lot of problems. It also had those bars at the top, which were originally for stabilization, but we were also hoping that they were going to affect the cutting or the maceration of the mycelium, which ultimately didn't help us significantly.
Mm-hmm.
But this version led to changes, which led us to the current version and the final product, which is, in my personal opinion, I'm blown away by what I was able to figure out from this. But yeah, it all had to do with testing. Lots and lots of testing.
Oh yeah, just so everyone knows, the far right video there with the stir bar, the regular stir bar. That's just because I was wanting to tell Eric that I'm super excited about the stir, the new stir plates that Ben's designing, and I'm about to test this earlier model. I don't have one of the new ones, but the earlier model on the new stir plate once Ben gets the bottom finished. So
for his stirring bank is pretty awesome. You should have this one. This one is.
Do I have that one?
It's a solid magnet. It's not shielded, and it's a straight tether system. It shouldn't have any wings on it. That one either was supposed to be destroyed or sent back to me.
Okay. Then I will need to check back to see where I've put that, because I've got it in my lab. I'm sure if you sent me one of the new ones. But in that case, I want to try. Maybe that is the one that I have in my lab. Maybe I don't have that one anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my bad. But I want to try it on the new stir plate because Ben's got these new, much higher powered magnets that I think will grab that floating piece.
I'm only a little concerned about that because originally the Myco Mixer that I've developed is to go with the standard mixer, and it's using so we needed to have a high temperature magnet, and so 250 degrees is which you guys said, hey, we needed that window. So we were looking at a samarium cobalt, which I think you can take up to 650 degrees Fahrenheit. Before the magnets become decoupled.
Okay.
But it's been designed for the distance off the bottom of the jar is partly related to the magnets in those mixing plates. But honestly, that actually gave us a huge advantage. I talked to some chemists, and even Sam mentioned this to me, but since it isn't contacting the jar, it's actually it's somewhat more efficient, but also because we're using primarily soda glass, it doesn't damage the soda glass, which ultimately leads to the possibility of fracture when you guys when the jars are sterilized, which means that the equipment will last longer. So that was actually a discovery that was really pretty exciting as well.
Okay, I've got your website pulled up here, which is mycomixer.com.
Right.
I've been while you've been talking, I've been scrolling through it a little bit, just so you know. I don't know if you can see I don't know if you can see everything I can see.
I see both of you, and I see it in the primary window. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a demonstration of the Myco Mixer, the version beta or version A, which is our technically it's our final prototype before we move to the production product. And we're demonstrating it. And in this case, it is actually macerating a gelatin mix that we
represent. That's what that is on the bottom.
Right. We didn't have access to HiFi to mycelium because again, I'm an enthusiast, not a grower, and so we had to create a simulation of what a mycelium should be feeling like, and you can see that in the left window, that is at high speed. These will become, so just so you guys know, some of you guys will not care about this at all, but just so you know, because of drag of the fluid, of the liquid, if you turn the mixing plate up too high, you will magnetically decouple the mixing plate from the Myco Mixer, and it will destabilize. So I actually recommend not going above half, but when you get one and you work with one, it's basically stabilize it, turn it on, get it to the speed you want, and then turn it down a little bit. And you really don't need a lot of time to run it. We're kind of, after talking with Sam about this a lot, I don't think you need to run it for more than 3 minutes, which reduces the possibility of mutations and damage to the mycelium.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and that's something that I worry about with the with liquid culture a lot of times is the how much it macerates and causes the mutation. So.
Right. Gentleman asked a good question. Sam told us that the pellicle or the top layer actually becomes light and fluffy. Not really whipped, but it doesn't become woody, for lack of a better term. And it's viable in other ways, or it's usable in other ways.
Gotcha. Yeah, looking at it, that's exactly the model I think that I've got in the lab. It doesn't have the arms anymore. Which I like that. I like that a lot better because the arms did catch a little bit, but this one doesn't catch.
Yeah.
Something else in the early days. Something else in the early days was that the little hook. You can see it inside of that photo, but there's a hook at the end of that spire. Maybe that's a bad word. I don't know, but yeah, perfect,
Yeah.
Andrew. Thank you. In the very beginning, there was a point where I tipped the jar to draw syringes from it, and it absolutely slid off. And so I kind of lost the little dangly bit there. But Eric went back in just on that immediate feedback, and it was just really cool to have that kind of interaction between us. He fixed it, and it took you like what 2-3 seconds to just remodel that one little section. And so now he has a little bit of a divot, and it catches so that whenever you do tip the jar to draw, that's no longer an issue. That's fixed. There was a bunch of other really, really cool stuff too, just upgrades. Any little bit of feedback that I gave, Eric was very responsive to, which was awesome. And like he said, with the way that the vortex is, you could see it in the earlier video that Andrew had of the stir plate and just a normal, typical, the white stir bar, and then you see the Myco Mixer. The vortex shape is very different. You don't have such a long, skinny vortex, and so the mycelium little, we call them pucks, but the little floating raft bit of mycelium that's growing on top of the liquid culture,
the pellicle,
that doesn't really. It kind of gets rid of that, to be honest. And Andrew and I, we're pretty robust on our liquid culture nutrition, and so that's something that we get quite a bit of, is that puck, that pellicle, and we use that in different ways. But it's kind of neat to not have to worry about it.
Oh yeah.
A couple of other quick things that I don't know if people will find this interesting. One of Sam's, I love this. I because of the interaction with Sam and I going back and forth about using it in the lab. One of her favorite things that she got so excited was that because it's attached to the lid and it doesn't have, and it's tethered. It's a tether-based system. You don't have to go fishing for it. It's very easy to find. And she thought that was terribly exciting, and I thought it was very wonderful to hear that, because it's anything. There were so many things, so many quick discoveries that we made once we got to this stage, that we didn't expect, like the fluffy pellicle, the recovery of the tool, the cleaning of the tool was very, very easy. Alignment and integration into a pipeline that already exists. All of that stuff was just wonderful green flags for the project that none of us were expecting or looking for. It was basically solve this problem, make sure you can operate in this environment, and we were able to hit that pretty quickly. So yeah, even though it took me 2 years to get a viable version out to you guys, and another year of you guys testing it, which seemed like forever for me, but it was totally worth the time investment. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there it is in the jar too. I've not had a chance to really look at the website as much as I would have liked. But
the website is relatively new. We've kept it a little bit on the down low. I've talked to you guys. Are the MushRune community is my primary interest and customer, but we have talked to 2 chemists who found it fascinating, and there is a biologist who I'm going to have a meeting with, but she has already seen the website, and she was like, this is something that I really want to be able to use in our laboratories as well. There's some neat benefits to having a system that operates in a hermetically sealed container that eliminates contamination, and that to me is just terribly exciting. But really, not that I don't want to serve other people, but I really primarily am making this for the MushRune community, so that they can have more control over their liquid culture environments.
Roger that. Well, shoot, Eric, is anything else you want to talk about? The distribution, I imagine, because I looked at it on the Myco shop and it's not available yet. So,
So we have to go through. So we have to pay tooling and manufacturing costs for the Myco Mixer and the tether and even the magnets. We're going to have to raise money through Kickstarter. We have the Kickstarter up. It's technically in preview. I'm not sure if the link works for you guys just yet because I was struggling with the bank connecting that today.
gotcha.
But we're going to be, just so everybody knows, it is not a small sum of money to order, a couple 100 pounds of magnets from China.
I can imagine.
We're going
Definitely
to,
imagine.
yeah, I can tell you right now, our launch date is President's Day, February 17th.
Okay.
Over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be trying to email as many mushroom farms in the United States and Canada as we can to let them know about the website. Ask them if they would, if they're using liquid culture, to sign up for the mailing list and pay attention to the product. We're going to be selling it. A lot of them with a discount in the beginning to try and get it off the ground, because we need to place that's the thing. We need to place an order of 1,000 units.
Gotcha.
It's not easy to manufacture something like this.
I can imagine so. So the you said the Kickstarter launch date is February 17th?
Kickstarter launch date is February 17th. As of right now, that's what we have on our calendar. That's what we've signed up for. We've already gotten our quotes and our budgets put together for the manufacturing, the packaging, and for distribution. So yeah, we were gonna try and launch. We really wanted to launch in the summertime, but one of our manufacturers pulled out, and then the magnet manufacturer told us they wouldn't distribute to us for some reason, and so we had to find new manufacturing and distribution and start over on that side of things. It was very, very difficult to find the right people. So,
Gotcha. Okay. So my Cetus mushrooms just asked what the Kickstarter link is. I'm going to post it in the chat here, and that should be a clickable link. So that should be the link for it.
I have two more quick notes.
Yep.
There's only one consumable on this, and that's the swivel. We kind of expect the swivel to last 10,000 hours. This thing should last a lifetime, and that swivel costs less than $1. We're making a product for laboratories that want to put this through the ringer and have it for all of them.
Yeah, I mean, you're using, like, was it medical grade stainless? Someone just asked, is it all stainless steel?
It's all stainless steel. The swivel is partially stainless steel and partially nickel. We did some checking, and I consulted with the chemist, and the swivel is so small that there is minimal chance of contamination and not enough contamination to be concerned with. The magnets will be encapsulated with PTFE plastic. All magnets.
Okay. So there's a chance that this is, like, potentially useful in more laboratories than just mycological.
Yes.
Okay.
You
Cool.
can use it just about anywhere. The main goal was to encapsulate the magnets and make sure that the Myco Mixer itself was safe, because the magnets are made of most of the magnets that we would run through high temperature are going to be made of heavy metals. They need to be encapsulated so that people are not accidentally being exposed to cobalt or samarium or any other nastiness. So.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, that's like a pretty exciting tool then.
Yeah. We did a lot to get here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been there for, like you said, I've definitely prototyped a little bit, and
I wish it went faster, because you and I are both excited for the innovations that we need in this industry. Oh, you know who else got to see this? I showed this to Dr. Oman, and he actually wants me to talk at a mushroom event, and I'm like, I'm a tool maker. I'm not a mushroom grower. And
well, that's okay. So a lot of times they don't want. Sometimes they want outside perspectives. Sometimes that's what allows us to make. What do they call that? Innovation brokerage. When you get someone outside your field to come and talk about your field, or at least talk about their field and give you ideas on that kind of stuff. That's how that stuff happens. Jumbo Umbo asks, are the swivels ball bearings or different?
They are a ball bearing swivel. In fact, I have one here on this version of the Myco Mixer.
Oh,
It is a marine swivel, and we're going with the stainless steel ball bearing swivels. Um, they're really inexpensive. In fact, when we looked at ordering 1,000 of them, I think we were almost 55 cents per unit.
okay.
So yeah, and this is all
Which
held
is funny
together.
because isn't that like that was one of those things that I remember you being tortured over, was trying to figure out that the problem and figure out the swivel, or like there was a time when you didn't even have the swivel yet. Like you actually ended up going with the swivel later.
Well, here's the thing, and this is the kind of thing that I wish the three of us and Ben could kind of just talk all day about. But the earliest version of this was actually, we thought this was the earlier version, which was a 3D printed version. This is an early prototype. We thought that this was going to work, and while I'm still patenting this for other reasons, by the way, we do have a provisional patent for our mixers. This version was completely tested in laboratory glass, and it worked in laboratory glass, but also the 3D printing is dangerous and toxic over time. Exposed to water, it delaminates, but it works great in laboratory glass. But when we move to soda glass, it doesn't work at all. It becomes unstable. The dome on the bottom of the glass ruins the flow that we're trying to create for the stabilized spin. The magnets are too close to the mixing plate. It was a dead end that forced us to change directions. And we had to change directions many times to get to a suspended method, which gave us the perfect ratio of pull on the magnets for the drive, and all the other really wonderful benefits that we're getting from the tethered system that we couldn't get elsewhere.
Gotcha.
Oh, by the way,
you're very welcome, Cetis. Cetis also said, I'm logged into Kickstarter, but it only takes me to the homepage. Please validate. Just, yeah, they've not released it yet. He was talking about how he's going through and working on validating it. But for now, just go to mycomixer.com. I also put the link to that in the chat. Go to their contact page, and you can put in your email to get get their updates. So when they pull the Kickstarter, which will go live in February,
we'll
that'll give you the idea.
We'll try and have it previewed before the beginning of next week. I thought it was in preview mode, but it may also be it needs to be approved by Kickstarter, and I was dealing with the bank today. So
yeah,
yes, sorry about the logistics of that.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome, anyway, Eric. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on with us and showing us this, man.
This has been a treat for me, and I really appreciate you guys having me. It means a lot. So
absolutely, Eric. Thank you. We'll talk later at some point, but for now, have a good day, man.
Good luck, guys. Bye.
Thanks. See you, Dick. All right. I'm learning all this stuff. Remember, guys. How do I remove? There we go. Now we're Big E sized. Okay. David said that he's going to have to log off here soon, so he wants to leave a couple questions. Oh, sorry, I skipped. Justin said the pellicle that forms on the LC saved my butt a couple times. You can inoculate grain. You can transfer it to agar. A lot of things you do with it. That's true. We do use it. We use it. We call it puck spawn, and we do use that sometimes. That said, I prefer it when my LC is nice and thick without a pellicle. But so sometimes that pellicle has come in handy. They use this in aerospace with hydroponics. I'm not familiar with that, Brittany. You're gonna have to let me know. How often do you clean the fogger discs, and how often do you switch them with new ones? Samantha, why don't you take this one?
Oh, no. All right, so I muted it on the computer so it doesn't do that crazy echo. So I want to say my piece, and then I want to turn the thing back on. So we honestly, I pressure wash it.
With a low power pressure washer.
Yeah, and don't get, incredibly close. Just, have at it. And we have really hard water. It is exceptionally scaly. There's a lot of calcium buildup. So I basically pour vinegar over a bunch of paper towels, mummify the darn thing, let it sit while I go eat lunch, drink smoothie, whatever. And then I come back and I pressure wash it. Yep. And I haven't changed those discs in a year and a half, and I've not messed with it. I've not done anything other than those things. So there was a time where I think we just replaced the whole unit, and it had been like 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I don't know if it's like calcium buildup has stabilized, any kind of wiggly wobbliness or what. But we really don't put in a whole lot of effort as far as like replacing the disc every week. We do know people that do that though. It's just like a maintenance thing.
I'm just testing the audio.
I didn't know if there was a delay on your end.
No, I'm trying to see how loud you are compared to me. It's supposed to automatically. I'm just trying to test it. Like, again, this is all. This episode is all about experimentation, right? So, okay, it does seem like it is balancing the audio pretty well. All right, you said it's good. Excellent. I like this. This is going better than I hoped. Maybe not as well as I fantasized about. My other question is, if you were to top fruit lion's mane, how would you do your second flush? I would do it the same way I do my second flush on the side, which is just... Oh, or do you mean... Okay. Do you mean when you just let it top fruit inside the bag? Or do you mean like you're going to cut the bag, push all the air out, and then fruit it, like turn it on its side, where the side that you cut is facing up? Because better than we expected. If I fruited it in the top of the bag, inside the bag, what I would do is pull all that out, collapse that down, turn it on its side, and cut it, and fruit it out the side like normal. If you're cutting the side, then pressing the air out and facing that upwards, and then you're fruiting it just like that, then I would just do it the way I always do off the sides, which is just pull it, make sure I clean any leftover bits of mushroom off, and then just let it fruit again. Audio video sync is just a shave off, but no complaints here. Yeah, YouTube's not being kind to us today, but as long as it's clear, if there's a slight delay, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Is there a slight delay here? Hello? Yeah, I can see it slightly.
Out of curiosity, anyone who's having trouble with their discs busting or whatnot, what are you cleaning it with? Out of pure curiosity, I looked it up as far as vinegar and how it affects ceramic in general, as well as what might weaken those ceramic discs. And there's a few different things that you want to really stay away from, alcohol being one, as well as lemon juice.
I would talk to John Broadhead, because theirs are specific.
Yeah.
I don't think they use the same discs that everybody uses.
Right.
So you have to be... There's certain... Like John Broadhead, best customer service I've ever had my entire life, ever, is House of Hydro. In fact, that's another one of my sponsors, House of Hydro. Best humidification system I've come across, in part because of John and his family. It's a family-run operation. Easily, like I said, the best customer service I've come across, and that has been something that's very important to me in this industry. Something I wish I was better at, and something that I strive to be like John in. But go check them out. Code Mossy. It only gets you like $1 off your order, but it'll get you like $50 worth of free replacement discs. So that when you do have to finally go through and replace those things, because if you're like Samantha, you can really milk them. But when you do need them, you don't want to spend that $50. You're right. So, plus it gets me a small kickback. So you help support this channel by getting yourself the best humidification out there. House of Hydro, Code Mossy. Anyways, I feel like one of those conservative talk show hosts where they have like a commercial every 5 seconds. Except this stuff is actually good. Let's see. Hey, Andrew and Samantha, I just wanted to say y'all are a massive inspiration to me. I like that you used y'all. I started my mushroom growing journey because of y'all. Again, props. By the way, if you like weather, watch Ryan Hall, y'all. That's a great channel. Thank you, Callus. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that you've started and that you've gotten bitten by the mushroom bug. I hope that I'm not your only inspiration. I hope that we're not your only source of knowledge, but I'm glad to be part of it. And I hope that you put me in your back pocket and use me as you need me. Christopher, what about the wonderful psilocybin mushrooms that are the best fungi thing that was ever created? Well, Christopher, on Facebook, I would say that what about them? I like them. And like you said, they are wonderful. So there are certainly some things about that. We don't tend to talk about them a lot because this is more, I have experience in like gourmets and stuff, and I'm not very experienced in the world of psilocybin. I'm one of the few mushroom growers I know who started in gourmet and then tried psilocybin at one point, but like I don't have any other experience with it. And I only tried it because I was having cluster headaches. I was actually kind of anti-psilocybin there for a while, but I was having such bad cluster headaches over and over again, and a single dose made it to where I never had another cluster headache again. So I think it's powerful medicine. And because of its power, I think that it is to be used cautiously, just like the atomic bomb. Beautiful, inspiring, wonderful technology.
I forgot to turn my sound back on. I was like, why is it so quiet?
So you wouldn't recommend cutting the whole top off and letting it continue to grow from the top? I wouldn't. No, I don't. They get dirtier that way. It's bigger. You get more surface area exposed if you cut it that way. If you cut it and close it again, it's really only good, in my opinion, for drying and making extracts. It's just not, I don't know, it's not as presentable. Like if you're selling at the market, or maybe if your chefs don't care and they like the texture, then that's good. But the texture is going to be very strain dependent. So, that's one of the big things there about that. Ammonia would be the only other thing you can use, but it would kill your plastics. Yeah, you gotta be careful with ammonia and plastics for sure. I'm active duty military. I haven't grown in a while because of the energy prices in Germany. Oh gosh, yeah, you guys are getting slammed out there. But when I get back to Oklahoma next year, I'll be starting up again. I hope to do you proud. Thanks, Callis. I appreciate it. Just so you know, Oklahoma is becoming, in large part because of Jacob DeVicchio, I think is how you pronounce his last name, in the Oklahoma Mushroom Festival. I didn't get to go this last year. I wanted to so badly. I was actually supposed to speak, and I had to cancel because of the hurricanes here, the Hurricane Helene stuff. But Jacob is not single-handedly, but largely making a cultural push in Oklahoma. And because it's a centralized shipping hub, and because agricultural products are cheap, you're getting all kinds of suppliers basing there. Oklahoma is becoming a mushroom powerhouse, at least in the supply side of things. So it'd be cool. If you get out there, you got to check out the Oklahoma Mushroom Festival. Vinegar on the pee-pee towel. I really hope that's not a towel you pee-pee on. Has worked great for me since Sam mentioned it. What does he mean?
Paper towel.
Paper towel. Gotcha. I didn't know, Never pressure washed it, though. Just wiped off the loose crud and run again. Yeah, absolutely, man. That's that is a game changer. It's life-saving there. Nice job on the House of Hydro plug. We agree with you all. The House of Hydro is the best humidification for mushrooms. It's excellent. Like, it's just, my hericiums do so insanely well. They just like soak up that, like, what is it? I can't even remember the micron size now, but the water comes out at a certain micron size, and it's the size that mycelium can actually uptake that liquid from the air directly. It doesn't have to condensate on the mycelium first.
It's just a beautiful light fog.
Yeah. I can stand in it and breathe, which is crazy for such a thick fog. Love Ryan Hall and his contribution to those neat. Yeah, that was great too. Ryan Hall, that's like my favorite weather channel. I'll watch him even if he's talking about weather in places I don't care about, because he's interesting and he makes weather interesting. Jacob at Oklahoma Fungi rocks. He's a super nice guy and a wealth of info. He's excellent. Like, I remember when he first started and he was just like, hey man, can I come by your op? I want to get into mushrooms, but I don't know what I want to do. And I don't even remember what I advised him. Honestly, I told him that it's open and not to think just in terms of farms anymore, because I still think there's plenty of room for farms, but like, you're talking suppliers, you're talking podcasters, you're talking which you're seeing so many new roles, innovators. I mean, we had
Like Eric.
Eric on, Ben Erickson of Man of War. I mean, even those curmudgeons up in Main Cap and Stem. They're doing some weird tech, mostly based off my tech, but whatever. It's still good.
Wow.
They're still innovators.
Andrew.
I'm gonna be nice.
Are you now?
I mean, whatever. So, with the vinegar paper towel thing, do you remove the discs and do that, or do you just wrap the whole? Samantha just wash, scrubs it out.
Yeah, I don't remove the disc at all. And
we don't touch it.
Yeah, I don't fix it if it's not
In
broken.
fact, I'm a believer that what happens is our water is hard, and so it vibrates, and Samantha cleans it, and so calcium just builds up in the cracks, so it makes them further and further waterproofed.
That's what I said earlier.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And I was just I basically have the vinegar in a little glass bowl, and then I just dunk the paper towels in there, and then I mummify the whole the whole silver thing with the discs in it.
Yeah.
What is that?
The transducer.
Transducer. Okay, that's what I was hoping I was saying it correctly.
I think it's the transducer. Lol curmudgeons at MCS. It's true, but they know their shit. I mean, look, despite our beef, I'm willing to admit that they have knowledge. And to me, what is the saying? All truth belongs to the saints. I don't remember who said that, but I freaking love that. Look, in that case, I'm a saint. And all truth belongs to me, no matter the source. Oh, I lost my place. Wait, no, what'd I do? Okay, while I figure this out. Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop that one. Going to remove this. I don't know what this is. Okay, we're going to click on something, and I don't know what it is. It's nothing. Okay, so I must have removed it. Excellent. Bam. We're good. And I got this figured out. Now, what's the best way to heat a fruiting room while having high humidity? So the best way to treat any air sacramentally ill. I like that name, actually. That's a multiple layered play. I like it. But the the big thing really for me is to have a preconditioning space. If you have a preconditioning space, you can heat or cool air before it ever enters into your grow room. One of the worst things in the world that I ever did was to put a window unit in my grow room, and it got so caked with spores, despite the constant washing, that eventually the AC just gave out. It got into every nook and cranny of the AC, got into the fan. It gummed everything up. Oyster mushroom spores in particular, but mushroom spores in general, are just like the most corrosive thing on the planet. They just destroy and corrupt everything. So your lungs, your respirator, any filter material you'll try, they just plug up. They are just awful. So that being said,
you pick on time. Pick
yeah,
early and often.
Pick early and often. Pick early and often. And then just have, systems that can handle sporage. But one of the big things for me is to have, I do mine with space heaters. I don't have, we don't hardly heat. Because mushrooms can take way cooler than they can take hot weather. That's called the thermal barrier. Fungus likes it cool. They don't like it hot. In humans and mammals, we have what's called the thermal barrier. It's why we don't get fungal infections the way lizards, fish, etc., and insects do. We're pretty well protected by the fact that we run hot. In fact, they think that may be why warm-bloodedness spread the way it did. Birds too. So the big thing for this is, I think, preconditioning space outside your room allows you to heat and cool right there. You can have your humidity system in there, but it's always best, of course, to have your humidity just go into the grow room. And if you can, run your pre-treated air through your humidifier, I think is the best way. I just use a space heater. If you're wanting more, like my weakest point in mushroom growing has always been the HVAC side because I just switch my strains throughout the year. When it gets cold, we grow colder strains like Enoki and cold weather lion's mane, which is what we're doing right now. In the summer, I like spring and fall, I grow everything. And then summertime, we grow at the very height of summer, we basically just grow reishi. Maybe a couple of type of oysters, maybe a hot weather Hericium like the Dyson Sphere strain that we have. But other than that, like the height of summer, this last year, and really this year, Samantha and I just shut the op down for the hottest month of the year.
Well, we do grow golds and pinks and stuff, and
okay, we don't really grow pinks in the summer though. We always grow those at Valentine's Day.
I have pictures from this summer.
Well, we did. I mean, we did grow them. Yeah.
I think it's an integral part of the breeding program as well as the health of your mushrooms, not to baby them too much. But that's my opinion.
I agree with that. Yeah,
And to be fair, we're not in an insanely freezing geographical region either, and we're also not in a really tropical area at that. And so. And so I think it's a little unfair in some ways to just be like, just a small space heater.
Well, that's fair too. Okay, yeah. So we actively. So in fact, I was just talking to Brittany, who was on here earlier today on the phone. We were discussing things, and one of the things I do is I breed strains that will do well in broad circumstances. So anything that's bred by me usually has a much wider range than most commercial strains will, and even some wild strains. So, hey, Andrew and Samantha, were you about to say something, Samantha? It looked like you were.
Just that we went to Colorado. We were hired to go out there and do a consult, and it was really, really neat to see all of that because the air was in a really high elevation, and the air was really dry and quite a bit thin. So they were not only warming their air, they were humidifying the air, and it was all in a preconditioning room before it even reached the inner operation.
And they had to impart because they had to run so much fresh air through because of how thin the air was, that the amount of CO2 coming off their incubation drastically changed how their room worked. So,
and that's a big conversation, to be honest, all the way around, just kind of, catering in to your location and what works for you. So,
hey, Andrew and Samantha, I'm still planning on sending you a bunch of wild genetics for the mycologium, but we'll probably wait until the spring so the mycelium won't freeze in transit. That's perfectly fine. Please do send them. Please don't forget, but I am really overwhelmed with getting all my strains slanted right now. This season has been really kind to the mycologium. And while we're about
pouring like 200 plates at a time, it's just like batch after batch.
And I'm about to have to order another 500 slants from Tim up at the tip of the cap. So, by the way, guys, slants are almost, they're like, I don't even, what were they? I think they were cheaper than $1 a piece, or like $1 a piece for a full 50 mil centrifuge tube. I mean, it didn't have 50 mils, but the size. And deep wells of agar for long-term storage. Like, I was surprised at how affordable he was. So, tip of the cap mushrooms, that guy, and he'll do custom, like, for this much more per slant. He'll do like, I'll add sawdust, or I'll add your type of food coloring, or
custom nutritional recipes.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
Well as colors, I think
he'll do anything you want. So check out Tim. But yes, please send them to me. But it's okay, I can wait because I'm behind on slants. And yeah, my December is going way better than my November went. Let me tell you that. I think the best way to heat with humidity would be a boiler system. So if you want to heat with humidity, the steam. Steam works pretty well, but you have to be careful because it can get real hot, and that hot steam can transfer to your the heat can transfer to your mushrooms and stuff. What you want, you just want to be careful with too. The spooge too. I don't know what you're talking about, Brittany. Good afternoon, guys. What's up, McWiz? Warm ground, cool air. I have a big heel in this. And nice. Yo, I missed your reply to me in Ed's channel. I think he misunderstood what I was saying. Anyway, so you can't visualize on your own, but you get visual trips. I rarely. Oh, hold on. I rarely get any. Oh, okay. That's the end. I just didn't notice. As far as that goes, no, I've got really high spatial reasoning. Like I'm very visual inside my head. I can put together and take apart complex machinery in my head. I can look at something and just see the way it's supposed to work, and oftentimes figure things out. It's not something that I used to be. Like I used to be really, really good at as a kid. And at some point, I just told people I'm not creative. I'm not a visual person. I'm not artistic. And then I started practicing again because I was like, wait a minute, I used to be. And then as I would just lay there, and what we called void walking, where I would lay back and just start with a small image and then manipulate it. And then I would practice that for 15, 20 minutes. And then I'd get up and go do whatever. And the next day I'd do it again and again and again until I became very, very good at it again. But no, when I trip, I don't really see visuals. Like I don't see hallucinations. I might like at a really high dose or something, I might see some swirlies, or the walls might breathe, but I don't see anything unless I close my eyes. Then everything goes kaleidoscopic kind of thing. And I'll live like one life after another. So work has begun on the inventory software. Been chugging along now. I'm excited. I'm very excited about that. I still want to find one that really works for me. And there's been a few people that have tried or modified things or started a project and not finished it. So I'd be very interested in that, McQuiz. I'll still be sending you the wilds, though. Yes, please. Yes, please. I love the wild stuff. And my whole life, I've never been able to visualize on my own. So when I do get visual trips, it's really wonderful for me. I can see that. No, I'm very visual. I think Samantha's very visual in her head. We both are really like when I took the ASVAB, I was incredibly high spatial awareness. I was tested as a kid because I wouldn't really do my schoolwork or sit still. And I had ADHD, but they make you do an intelligence test even as a kid. And as a kid, I had incredibly high spatial reasoning, very high linguistic abilities, and then really low mathematical scores. Like really low mathematics. I was in special ed math for a while. And even then, even when I was in high school, I only took remedial. And then college, I still had to take like remedial math. I've always been terrible at math. I was diagnosed with a mathematical learning disability. So, but no, spatial reasoning, as far as like visualizations go, I can imagine really complicated scenarios, workflows, layouts, building, layouts, mushroom farms, whatever. So I lived at a high elevation and now I'm going down to the coast. I prefer the coast. I'm a big lowland person. I'll admit it. The mountains are romantic to me, but I much prefer my land between the lakes, and I love my coast. I'm just more of a water. Do you know aptasia was a thing until a year ago, and I'm over 40? Well, I always thought everyone was like me, didn't know you were supposed to be able to see images in your mind. Yeah, that's my grandfather used to talk about it. So I guess I misunderstood you earlier because I was saying that I was similar to you, but I think we must be opposite, two sides of the same coin kind of thing. My grandfather was a chemical engineer, and he used to talk about how like he would lay back and close his eyes and then or his eyes would go distant and you'd be like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm pulling this thing apart, And like he would talk about when he worked for his 40 years or whatever as a chemical engineer, that he would lay back and he would just imagine molecules and he would pull apart and put them together, or imagine a chain of molecules. And then he would be like, okay, if I change this, it'll be a catalyst, it'll have a rippling effect. And he can imagine the whole thing in his mind. And I guess that's just a type of intelligence that runs in my family, Samantha's family. So, oh man, I'll slam you come May, June with the locals then. Please do. Feel free to. I should be caught up by then. I really hope. You two sound infinitely better this week. Great to see you. I feel so much better. Samantha was telling me last night she feels so much better.
I'm finally getting my energy back.
Yep.
I can actually work with a bit of oomph now. Like I've got I can do more than 2-3 things at a time.
For
First
me,
it was one, and then it was like, I'm going to go take a nap because I can't do anymore.
normally I would weightlift 4 times a week. I've weightlifted twice this week, and I will have a third probably tomorrow. I didn't today, but and I'm not doing my full routines. I'm just easing back into it, and thank goodness I am, because the first day, which was Friday, was rough recovery.
You did like 1 or 2 sets. I think you were on your second set, and he basically just
I stumbled backwards. I was about to pass out.
yeah.
So, but Monday my sets were much better. Yesterday I felt like I could breathe fire till I was about 5 sets in, and then I just gassed out immediately. And it was gassed out like I was like, my legs hurt. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Everything hurts, So, but yeah, we feel so much
And
better.
there's less
Jesse.
coughing and more clearing our throats. Like
Yeah.
I've been trying not to.
I don't know if you can tell, but the twinkle's back in my eye. I'm feeling a little bit mischievous again.
Definitely mischievous. Always mischievous.
Always mischievous.
Ay.
Runs in the family. That's another thing I picked up from my grandfather, and my father, and my mother. Awesome backdrop, by the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I really like that we can, because of the HRV, we can keep this room fairly comfortable and clear all that CO2 out. And so we could actually have bags right behind us. And I love, that's the Albright Grove #1, the ones on the very far, my left, on the screen. I think it looks like I'm pointing to the right. But those are all from the old growth forest, and that's a hericium that I really like. It's starting to get away from us. We're going to plant that today.
Oh yeah.
And I mean it this time. I meant an HVAC boiler would heat without removing humidity. Oh, gotcha. But that would be way more expensive than a preconditioning space. Yes. And it just, again, it depends on what kind of resources people have and what they're working on. Hey, my X people, my people watching on X, will some of you guys let me know if you can, will you comment so I can test the comment stream? I just want to see if it will actually combine it like it did last week and like it's supposed to. So if you X people could just help me out a little bit. Also, lets me know that if I'm coming through clear on X. Thank you. Eric Myers is another inspiration because he came from active duty. I hope to find someone to pay to take me under their wing. I'm still struggling with something. Well, Callis, we do mentorships. I think Eric Myers does mentorships. Yeah, he was doing it on active duty. I had a medical discharge before I ever started, years before I started. So, in fact, I had a medical discharge, and then I went into it spanked my butt so badly that I went straight into the seminary. No, straight into aquaculture. I came from seminary, and the seminary spanked my butt so bad that I went into the military. Then I got my butt kicked so bad I was like, screw this, I'm going to grow stuff. So, so Eric is good. I don't know anything about his mentorship programs. I've never taken it, but I know Eric's a pretty knowledgeable guy, especially if you like some of the more engineering aspects of this. If you want biology, I think I'm probably the top mentorship guy to go for the biological aspects and the simple, I'm not going to call it primitive tech, but simple solution kind of tech. And Myers has got more of like an industrialist feel to me. Oh gosh, my mind's slipping on who would be the third person I could really think of when it comes to mentorships. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. Oh dang, that's opposite to me. When I try, I get nothing. When I close my eyes, I only see black. Yeah, that might be so. Something. What I did to train was like I read about this when it came to archery, and they would like pull the arrow back, or they would see the target, and then they would allow like a candle to be lit, basically in their imagination at the bottom of what they're looking at, and then they would allow that candle flame to grow until it burned away everything except the target, and then they would release the arrow. And when I read about that archer doing that, that's kind of what I started doing, was imagining a flame. And I would just do it, and I would just try, and I would try. And at first it was a big struggle. And then after a while, it started to come back to me on that imagination. And if you had an imagination as a kid where you could see stuff, you can still get this stuff back. I did. I'm not saying it's not going to be without effort, but you have some spatial reasoning ability somewhere that you may have lost along the way. Unless it's like me, where you had the mathematical learning disability, in which case maybe it was never there in the first place. But that probably
I
started
can't
off in
even
childhood.
imagine. Like I
You can't even imagine not being able to imagine.
I think in images, my memories are like videos. They're even whenever
It's
I'm
actually
trying
really
to solve a
frustrating
problem,
sometimes. to
I
talk to
dream
her.
in vivid color. Like I don't know. I just I can't imagine not being able to do that.
Called aphantasia, to not be able to see in your mind. I can do it with some things, though, not maths at all. Yeah, math I can't at all. As Shuffle Ducky Powerman said, I only heard about it a year ago. I've never been able to visualize anything. I was surprised that people could actually do it. I was gobsmacked. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Even with math and stuff, I visualize the problems and the answers. Like with basic subtraction and addition. Like I'm seeing. Do you remember those little blue counting columns and little cubes?
Yes.
I see those.
I loved those things. So that was the thing. Like when I took the tests for the ASVAB and stuff, like they would have like those puzzles where they give you a bunch of shapes, and then it would give you a bigger shape, and it would say, "What do these fit into this?" Or can you get these to fit with the least amount of shape? I could just instinctively, I could just go, that goes there, that goes there, goes there. Like I've always been good at that. I'm good at puzzles. I'm really good at anything that's sort of like throwing a ball. I mean, Nick, you know me. I can juggle. I'm really accurate when I throw. Like
Yeah.
I can catch stuff really well. Like all of that is related to spatial reasoning. There's an outward locus and an inward locus of spatial reasoning, and they come on different things. So.
It reminds me of that one video on Instagram where it was, I think it was an engineer, and it was a cube with the different shapes, and it's a children's toy, and then they would have the different shapes that they would put in there, and it was, what was it, a rectangle, and he was like, what?
Oh, you're
what
talking
fits
about
in
the
rectangle, a circle, and then he turned it sideways, or she turned it sideways.
And she's like, oh no, please don't.
Yeah, it was a reactionary video, and then this guy was just like, what fits in the rectangle? A star, and then literally turned it sideways and slipped it into the rectangle.
Everything fits in the rectangle if you turn it the right way.
And then you have this woman who is reacting, who's very, very particular. Like, she's like, the star goes into the star. Yes, and she has just such a positive reaction to this, and she's so excited, and there's an obvious reward system going on with all of that, but it was hilarious. I got so tickled at that one.
Brittany, to get our tinctures, they're on mossycreekmushrooms.com. You'll just have to go to the buy now page. There will be a separate page eventually for the different things, but right now we just kind of lump together while we're getting everything built out. So if you go on there, I think they're on page 2, but we have 4 different types of tinctures that you can get. What is this week's code?
What is this week's code?
What you not doing? Samantha's making the code right now.
You didn't remind me.
Why should I have to remind you to do your job?
Because I forgot.
Okay.
Out of all the other jobs that I did today.
Let's do a code. Okay, what is somebody saying? Someone's saying let's just do code extract. Code extract, huh? I think we can do that. And you want to do it for 20% again?
Yeah.
Cool. So there we go. This week's code, save 20% with discount code extract, all lowercase. Or that's what I've got it as, at least. So code extract. That doesn't just go for our extracts, but it'll give you 20% off site-wide. That is our LC premix, the Dr. Solarian's elixir, which is just liquid culture premix. Any of our cultures, liquid cultures, please do not purchase spawn. We are still scrubbing spawn from the website, but we don't do spawn anymore. If you do, you're going to get a call back, me telling you that I'm going to swap it out for cultures or give you a refund. So that said, code extract 20% off site-wide Mossy Creek Mushrooms as a thank you for watching and engaging in the show with us. All right. Samantha's getting that code made now. So it'll be live within a few minutes. So give us a few minutes before you use that code, but please use the code and save yourself some money and get yourself some awesome stuff. when are you testing new genetics? How many bags do you usually? When you are testing new genetics, how many bags do you usually run? I usually try to do a test of 20. 20 bags is the first initial run. If we really like something after that initial test, I'll want to do an entire wall of it. Don't always do an entire wall of it, but I'll do as many as I can. And I like to try to grow a strain 3 or 4 times throughout the year to fully test it. I might, if I'm really impressed with it, I might release it early. But the full testing comes whenever I've grown it for years. So like King Blue, Mother of Pearl, Rocky Top, all of those have been grown over watercolor. Oh my goodness, watercolor. All of those have been grown multiple times throughout the year. And have proven, how well they do through the summer, spring, fall, winter, etc. Do you grow Combs Tooth? Absolutely grow Combs Tooth. You're talking to like the Hericium master here. I grow like every Hericium there ever was, or is, or that I can get my hands on at least. And I love Combs Tooth. My Comb Tooth strain in particular is really nice and big and thick and succulent compared to many others. Many others are very feathery. So thank you for the extra syringes. Absolutely, Ronald. I hope you enjoy them. Tim says, I'm happy you guys are back looking healthy. Thanks for all your knowledge. I'm interested in your boiler setup for sterilizing grain. Would love to learn more. For sterilizing grain, we just use a 150-liter autoclave. If you go on my channel and look it up, you can search for autoclave. And I literally have a video on pressure canners, autoclaves, the difference between pasteurization, sterilization, etc., like that. And you can see my exact unit that I use. I got mine from SH Scientific. I think you can get them now actually cheaper from Mushroom Media online. I don't remember if it's actually that way, but just check it out. But the SH Scientific models are really great. It's a Korean company, and I love to support our allies. East Tennessee might be where the mischievous nature comes from. No kidding. East Tennessee, well, that's Kentucky blood, but Kentucky bred Tennessee culture. Tennessee bred Tennessee culture, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Tennessee. I was born in Knoxville.
I'm just saying where your blood came from.
But a lot of, I've got a lot of heritage in Kentucky, in the Harlan and Hazard.
When those Duke boys are from. I will have to work out a mentorship with y'all and a few others. Absolutely, Callus. Just call me, let me know. We'll get it set up. I like this. I've had other people take mentorships with like Eric Myers, myself, and others. And then I get to hear reports back on how theirs went with other people. And that's always cool to me to be able to hear like, okay, where can I improve? And where are these people just going to be the best at what they do in that segment of mycology? Because nobody can do everything. And so it's starting to get to the point where certain mentors are going, you want them for their certain aspects. And I've had a lot of people, talk about how they come to me for the biology side of things because I've even had someone tell me that they thought that I had the best intuitive grasp of mushroom biology of anyone they've come across. Not necessarily the most educated grasp, but the most intuitive grasp. I have an intuitive understanding of how the mushroom biology works. So, which was a huge compliment, I felt like. And that's where I was breaking it down to where I feel like Eric Myers is much more of he's an engineer's engineer kind of guy. So I know I can visualize because I have visual dreams, but when I'm awake, that function of my brain is like turned off. That's very interesting to me. Let's see. I've got a bunch of stuff to get through. Oh man, holy crap, comments. So first, let me just take a really short break so that you get to hear another word from our sponsors, Dr. Silurian.
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Silurian's elixir of mycelial mastery. This isn't your average culture mix. It's a revolution in a packet, crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich amber spectacle, the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Silurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment. Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
All right, welcome back. Let me grab that back. All right, where have I been?
Where have I been?
Oh, oh, that's an Ed Gred thing. I was just watching him earlier, and now I'm imitating him because I can't help myself. All right. Question: can you grow boletes? Had some boletes come into the compost about a month ago. I'm not sure. Anything that is probably growing on wood or is growing without a symbiotic partner probably can be grown. I mean, even the symbiotic partners can be grown. I imagine that if there are boletes that are growing that are just soil borne, which I think is pretty rare for boletes, but again, this is not my specialty, or if they're growing on wood, which I don't know if there are any wood-borne boletes. Again, boletes are not my specialty. There are people who are whole bolete specialists. I was really lucky to be able to, not too long ago, talk to the USDA's local forestry agent, who is an expert in polypores, and that was really cool. I didn't know that there was anyone who was just like, I'm a polypore expert, right? So that's really neat. Interestingly enough, they do that primarily because there are so many polypores that are at least minor pathogens of plant species, of tree species. So I'm not sure on boletes, mast. That is a really interesting thing. That's a whole interesting family that I have never delved into. So I'll have to look it up and get back to you. Which I hate. I hate giving that kind of answer. But meanwhile, there's people who are like Sherlock. Oh, where it's like hand clap to the ears, elbow to the back, kidney shot. Hey, I turned my sound off this time before the show even started. Do you do the hand math though? Like carry the one in the right in the air? Yes. You can ask me. I legitimately write math in the air. Like sometimes, if it's really complicated, I have to write it in the air because I can visualize it in the air. I have to have a pad and paper. I can't just do math in my head.
Well, that's like I didn't even think about that. Like, I remember being in kindergarten and counting on my fingers, and my teacher would actually smack my hands with a ruler to keep me.
I had that whenever I used to because I started off left-handed, and I had a few people in my life who would literally smack my hand every time I was writing left-handed, so it became right-handed, and now I still can't write very effectively with my right hand. Like, it's still very messy. As you asked me whenever you said, what does this say? And I was like, ship ASAP. Like, how is that not obvious? You know, and you're just like, okay, Mr. Dr. Script. Well, it's a large part because I feel like I just never could get it, but
I'll switch back to being left-handed.
Well, I might, but I can eat left-handed. I can shoot left-handed. I can shoot pool with either hand. I can juggle. I can do all these things. And I'm pretty ambidextrous at this point. But handwriting is terrible with both hands. So we'll see. Will your book cover breeding mushrooms? Eventually, I will have a book that covers breeding mushrooms. I don't think that in this one I'm going to cover it. Right now, I think I'm going to do a basic... then I'm going to do a basic cultivation guide. Basically, it's going to be like a no BS. I'm not going to put any of my politics in it, which is rare for mushroom growers, let me tell you. If you've read Paul Stamets' book, or, oh my gosh, Peter McCoy's book, I love and respect Peter. Even after having never met him, I respect what he's done. But oh my gosh, keep your politics out of my mushroom book. That said, I do plan on writing some on breeding, but where I feel like I'm still so early, in the stages, I don't feel like I could write that book well. I might be able to discuss a couple of strategies, but the science of breeding is still fairly new. Selective breeding. It was brought to America by the early Germans. The Germans were excellent selective breeders. I mean, they bred cabbage into all kinds of different cool things, right? And then they brought that to America. But selective breeding then, like, was it 1800s, early 1900s is really whenever dog breeding started and horses. And I'm not saying that breeding hasn't been done forever, but like the fanciers kind of thing, the pigeons and the dogs, we've touched so few things. You want to see something cool about breeding, check out isopods. Literally go online and go to a reptile store and look at all the different isopods. They have Dalmatian isopods, roly-polies. They have white ones with black spots. They have rubber ducky ones that are yellow with orange beaks. They have the Jersey cow ones, which have bigger black spots, I think, or something like that. Or it's some kind of sort of dairy cow. I can't remember. Maybe it's not a Jersey. I think Jerseys are more buff. Anyways, they have all kinds of, they have lavender, blues, grays, etc. Temperate ones, tropical ones, big ones, little ones, etc. Like, it's crazy. And that's selective pressure is being brought to that. The selective pressure is being brought to the pawpaw right now. There's literally someone up in Kentucky, and I think someone in Tennessee too now, taking wild pawpaws trees and breeding them for bigger, riper, juicier fruits, hardier trees that can live out without having to be in the forest. It can be in much more of a yard setting. Like, selective breeding alone is going to change the world we live in like crazy. And even with genetic engineering, it is so expensive to genetically engineer things that it's still going to be better to genetically engineer something and then breed that with other things to breed the gene through. So it's super, super cool. I don't sell isopods breeding, no. I'm just saying people do that. I used to breed isopods when I was a kid, never to the level that they are now. And I used to breed spiders, but not to the point that there's people breeding jumping spiders for more colorful ones, prettier ones, more domestic ones, larger, more docile spiders, so that they make good pets. It's crazy. I've made friends with wild spiders. There's this mama one that's been living out here 2 years on our front porch. Every morning I come out there and dump my mate, and she'll be out there in the sun, and I'll put my finger up, and she'll walk up, and she'll tap my finger.
You just like high five each other in the morning.
We do.
How do you know it's the same one and not a descendant?
Because she's gotten bigger. They live about 2 years or so before they mate, and then she'll die after that. So she's probably going to die this year.
Better find her a mate then.
Well,
have you seen a second or
the males are so small; they're hard to see a lot of times. But trust me, when she's ready, she'll attract one. She'll put the scent out, as you ladies do. But as far as that goes, Ronald, no, I probably am not going to write it in this book. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Brian Callow, when he wrote his book, he suggested to me that what he did was he got an RV, rented an RV, parked it out front of his farm, worked his farm during the day, and then lived away from his family and his employees until he finished writing that book. And I was like, I might not do that. So it might take me longer because I like my family. I'm not saying he doesn't like his family. I'm sure he does.
I was about to say, you might want to watch how you word that.
Brian is absolutely a family man. I freaking love Brian Callow. He is absolutely a family man, family first, someone with whom I feel like my ethics track pretty closely with. So, but yeah, Ronald, one day I will. One day I absolutely will. I teach that in mentorships. Any mentorship who wants to come learn how to breed mushrooms from me, I'll teach you everything I know about it. But I don't really discuss it online, except the most basic and simple of ways. Ed has got some really great stuff if you want to go watch. Ed's lives are interspersed with all kinds of comedic relief followed by mushroom breeding knowledge. He's got all kinds of stuff, the grab and drag, and he does a lot of the monokaryote kind of stuff. So Ed would be a really good resource for mushroom breeding right now. Yes, I count the cubes in my head. 15 plus 24. Well, 5 and 4 is 9, and 1 and 2 is 3, so 39. But I literally had to visualize them stacking up to do that. The round peg 39 goes in the round hole. The opposite of aphantasia is called hyperphantasia. That's Samantha. Samantha is hyperphantasia. The unrelenting imagery in the head. But the round will fit in the square. It does.
Anyone with children, if you have watched Word World, that is how I spell things.
I love you, sweetheart. I also cannot imagine not being able to imagine. Well, actually, I can, but it seems so sad. I really feel bad for someone who can't imagine. Maybe he can imagine other things, like linguistic things. Oh, speaking of Ed, @masked Google Phlebopus. That must be a bolete. Okay, there we go. I knew, Ed, being in Asia is such an advantage. I hope you take advantage of that advantage. Callus says, that would be a dream to mentor under you. I will look into a few others as well. I can't begin to express out how thankful I am for y'all. Well, thank you. Just so you know, it's about to get more expensive to do a mentorship with me. So the earlier people book it, the better at this point, because I don't know when I'm going to raise the prices, but they are being raised because I need to have that handled. Slacktide says, an X. Thank you. Someone on X did do lighting recommendations for tent. LED lights, 6500 Kelvin is my favorite because mushrooms respond really well to that daylight kind of spectrum, but it also allows you to take really good pictures. You can have more efficient lighting for your mushrooms by going into the blues and purples. And I actually had a group of people that mentored under me, consulted with me, who did this, where they went with really high, like it looked like a UFO. You stood outside their operation, and any light that bled through looked like somebody was being abducted inside. And they could not the only way they could take pictures of mushrooms was to literally grab them and take them outside and take the picture. And I don't like that. I like being able to take pictures of my walls of mushrooms. So for
Our lights are full spectrum, right?
Our lights are 6500 Kelvin.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I don't remember where I think full spectrum is slightly warmer than that. Yeah, look up the Kelvin scale. Okay, yeah, 6500. That's on the high end of full spectrum. Okay. But I like that just because you can take pictures and stuff. You can see things a lot better. Blue kind of leaves your eyes a little bit odd. Turd farmer. Shuffle ducky at turd farmer. Well, I didn't know it was a thing, so I never felt bad about it. But now when I know that I can't do it, I miss it. Because I love you. You love who? It's Christmas, the 30% for this week. That's next week. That's
and
next week. Pre-sale.
if you're watching the podcast and you're getting the 20% and you order from us, you get
an additional 15%.
Percentage off in the thank you letter, and then you can turn around and order again and stack those.
From now on, every time you order with me, 15% off. No one ever told me, and no one ever asked if I was able to do it. I assumed everyone was like me, and everyone else assumed I was the same as them. Only about 3 to 4% of people have this. Yeah, that's kind of like what it's like having ADHD, which I know it's a little higher percent of the population, like 5%. But everyone just I just assumed peanut allergies. Mine was never bad enough as a kid to be deathly, but I just assumed everybody when they ate peanut butter got itchy throats and lots of mucus. I thought that was the common way of eating peanut butter.
Poor soul. Gracious.
Andrew said 20% off site-wide with code extract. Please no spawn orders. Thank you for saying that. Reiterating. Danielle Churchill, hey, didn't she have an order go out today?
She did.
Glad to see you do well. Do you by chance send off your tinctures for testing, or do you have any recommendations of those to use, considering sending one of mine to get tested just out of curiosity? Okay, so I have a rant about this. I'm going to condense it because we have other things to do, and we're already at an hour and 40 minutes, which today has flown by. But high altitude testing, high altitude consultancy. I can't remember the name. That's who I'm getting my testing done through. And I will be hopefully getting results back. But point being, I don't have any recommendations yet. That's just who I'm going with first. Here's the other side of this thing. Testing's bullshit. It's just absolutely. You're only testing for one thing. So maybe it's not complete and utter bullshit, but it's mostly bullshit. if you're doing it out of curiosity, I think that's great. But in the most recent studies that I've seen on lion's mane and the health benefits, the neurological benefits, erinaceus, which is or erinacines, which is what's found in lion's mane, and what we're after. It's a type of horicinone. Erinacine is in the study did well in both humans and the rodent studies. It increased memory performance by a small degree. And what was it? Not just memory performance, but also like puzzle solving. Anyways, the point being that erinacine did give a bump compared to the control group. And another horicinone gave a bump, a little higher bump actually than erinacine. Then, when you did a combination of horicinones, a multitude of horicinones, you got a big statistically relevant leap in performance in both studies. And they use rodent studies because rodents have very similar brain chemistry to us. Interestingly enough, I found out that dogs cannot get high off weed as much as we might like to think they can. They can't.
How did you find this out?
I was curious one day and I asked about it. It's actually mildly toxic to dogs and cats, and neither dogs nor cats. Like you're not going to kill them by blowing it in their face, but they
like onions or why would you do that?
Well, onions.
Well, just sitting there thinking about all the things that they are allergic to,
gotcha.
and just
Before I get off track with
yet
that,
another thing.
The ganodermic acids. There's something like 487 of them. That may not be the right number, but it's like over 400 ganodermic acids. Altitude was very happy to tell me that out of those, they've only been testing for ganodermic acid A. Their test now includes 2 to 3 more ganodermic acids, and that's great and all, but there's 400 something other ones going there. So if we're going by folk medicine use, how do we know which one of those acids is the one we want? Number 2, how do we know that you actually only want a single acid? What if what's it called? There's an effect where the entourage effect, I think is what it's called, where something it has a change, but then whenever thank you, Shuffle Ducky, entourage effect. But then when you combine this molecule with other molecules, all of a sudden it becomes far more effective. And what we see is from nature, naturally derived these naturally derived sources. The poly is better than the mono most of the time. So like when it comes to lion's mane, they're only testing for erinacine, but there's all these other horicinones that are found in coralloides and americanum and whatever the conifer coral name is, I can't remember. Something with an A, albiitis, maybe. Anyways, there's all these other horicinones that have effect. And so while I appreciate the testing, and I am going to go through the testing, and I think that the testing, like cordycepin, we're pretty sure cordycepin is, has a strong effect on its own. So there is that. So that testing may be more relevant than the Hericium or Ganoderma testing so far. And I'm not saying that we should stop testing, because I think that the data can become relevant or is irrelevant within certain perspectives. But at the same time, I think that it's a good idea to get it tested, but I hate how much of the advertising is built around this testing, because number one, we don't even know all the side effects of this stuff, especially when you're taking massive doses. I still take my extracts. I still think it's a good idea to take extracts. But what I'm saying is that I think that we need to be careful how much we push the testing aspect of this, because the testing is still in early stages. But they're finding even like, sorry, one more thing. What they're finding, like I talked to Nuno, is that his name? What's his name? Something Nuno. I talked to him at the Oklahoma Mushroom Conference. I cannot remember it all of a sudden. Guy's awesome. He's testing creates a at-home test kit for psilocybin. But they're also working on testing of other things, like was it bastomycin? So you have psilocybin, psilocin, bastomycin. Ed probably knows more. But the point is that you have all of these, and they each produce a different effect. So your mushroom trip that you put with a mushroom trip, or your microdose that you, the what you have in your mind of a microdose, may not be the same if you take it down to a single substance, because you won't have that entourage effect or the synergy, as other people are saying. So what were you going to say, Samantha?
Just that the National Library of Medicine and the biomedicine section, they have a really interesting article on it. It says decoding the postulated and entourage effect of medicinal cannabis.
What is and what isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to check that out. That'd be a good one for an episode to do on some of this medicinal stuff.
Yeah, Andrew's very curious about all of this. I'm a teetotaler. I won't touch it. Like, it's just, I'm very, I don't know. Anyway, but just in general, reading about it, seeing it is fascinating, though. I really, really do enjoy that. So whenever Andrew mentions something like that, I'll go, and you can ask him. I'm a bit of a hound dog whenever it comes to certain stuff. I like information, and I like digging for information and finding out things, and I can go down a rabbit hole and be there for hours. I'll disappear for 5 or 6 hours, and Andrew will be like, she's been sitting in the corner this whole time just reading.
It's okay.
But, yeah.
I know you got my back. I mean, when it's necessary, you got my back. I got it.
I do.
Oh yeah.
But,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was going to go on the next thing. You go ahead. If you've got more, you might as well say it now.
Just reading the article, just look it up. It's on the National Library of Medicine. It says everything that Andrew said plus more, and it's just really cool.
Okay. Was that a pause or a?
I'm gonna get distracted again.
Okay. Are you guys still selling your seasonal grain bundle? Not right now. We're not going to be doing any grain for a while. We're going entirely liquid culture. We will be doing. So I shouldn't say we won't be doing any grain. We'll be doing what we're going to call spawn drops. So right now I'm mass producing LC. I'm doing it in gallons now. Excuse me. For production aspect. So one of the things that we're looking at doing is to drain this jar. I'm going to mass produce spawn of this type. Let's say, I won't mass produce, but let's say I produce 50 bags of Albright Grove #1, right? If I do that, then I'll set aside some for my own usage. But then what I'll really do is I'll come on Instagram, etc., and I'll be like, hey guys, new spawn drop today. We dropped Albright Grove #1. 65 bags are available. First come, first serve. When we run out, we're out. Don't know when we're going to restock it. And for you guys on the show, you'll get the YouTube and X, and whoever's watching the show at the MushRune Cast, you'll get the MushRune Cast discount. Plus, if you've ordered from us before, you'll get the thank you code, which the thank you code does change every 3 months. So,
and you have probably already noticed on the website there are some things that are out of stock. Again, going back to that, we're going to make something, it's going to be in stock. Whenever that stock gets low, it's going to email us, and then that is going to create a cascade in the library where it's like, okay, we're a quarter of the way of being out of inventory. Let's start this jar or restart the process, take from slant, and then we're allowing ourselves and buying ourselves that time. It's really hard to keep up with so many strains and so many orders, and so this kind of, we're not going to allow ourselves to build up those orders so high anymore to where we get behind. Poor Danielle, she's been waiting for ages. She's been super patient.
Calling everyone that left a phone number on their order, or getting through the email list is a little harder. But calling everyone who ordered spawn, who's had to wait any amount of time, or in fact, people who ordered spawn 2 days ago are getting a call or an email where I'm like, hey, I'll give you liquid culture.
And Vance
Please.
is on here. He waited for his order as well. And what gets us in trouble is when somebody ordered like 10, maybe like 5 or 6 different strains, and they're kind of in different stages in our operation. And some are a spring variety or a winter variety, and
Or stuff we got to pull from cold storage, or stuff we
Yeah.
can pull from liquid culture. It basically, like, all of my bad reviews come from Spawn. All of my refunds come from Spawn. And it can be someone, it can be a customer who's being asinine, like, I ordered 2 days ago, why haven't you shipped? That person, I don't even worry about. I'm okay firing them as a customer. But the people who have legitimately had to wait a while, that hurts my heart. It actually, I hate it. I hate when someone dislikes me, right? But
yeah,
I can deal with it
That
if I'm like, that person is unreasonable, then I can let it go. But if someone has a good reason and they dislike me, like they're waiting on their spawn that they paid good money for, that kind of stuff hurts me. So I'm taking it away, because liquid culture I can do. Liquid culture is something I'm really good at. Liquid culture is something I pioneered the use of here in the United States. I'm not saying I was the first. I definitely wasn't the first. And in Asia, all I did was take inspiration from the Asian mushroom cultures, because many of them are already using liquid culture big time.
Well,
So-
I remember when you were reading about it, and I remember kind of everyone saying, this is not a clean way to go about it, or that there's too many potentials of contamination, or there's too many variables that could go wrong, or there's not enough nutrition. And we've, Andrew has played over the past 6 years with our nutritional profiles, and so it's just. I remember when Andrew was like, yeah, this is not really the way to go, kind of jumped on the bandwagon of whatever everyone else was saying, and then turned around and did a video on I was wrong, which got
My most
massive amounts
popular
of
video
views.
ever.
And
I need to be wrong about something else, but I looked at Samantha the other day and I was like, what can I do a video on something I've been wrong about? I've not been wrong in so long.
Reassessing the situation.
She did not actually. She did not respond to that the way I expected.
I absorbed that and decided to move on.
Fair enough. Speaking of, can you talk about the longevity of your cultures? I absolutely can, Brittany. She's probably asking this because I talked to her a little bit about it earlier. But when you buy liquid culture from a lot of other people, there are people, and I'm not going to say who because I don't know all of them, but there are people who will run it over and over and over and over again. Liquid culture to liquid culture to liquid culture to liquid culture. There are problems with that. Namely, if you only use dextrose, you are risking enzyme blindness at a much bigger way than you are. At least maltose helps to protect somewhat, which is why my liquid cultures are always so amber in color. That, and we caramelize our sugars on purpose. But what Brittany's asking here is basically that we, I don't go beyond a certain milliliter. I do a needle biopsy from my slants, or an agar plate. That's young, and I'll go to liquid culture and I'll do it to like a 500 milliliter jar, and then I'll expand that, but I'll only expand so far that I would still consider that a liquid culture master in my op, as in I could still make further jars of that. And the reason why I do that is because, they can last. You can get it. You order that from me, and now you can make a ton more liquid culture. And you can stretch it out into grain, and you can go to grain, and then you can go to fruiting blocks, and then you can still go back to another liquid culture master that you've got and do it all over again. And so I think that's the kind of value I would want coming from a company. So that's what I do. Now, if you're talking about longevity, how long does it last in liquid culture? I've had syringes sit out at room temperature for a year or two and still use them, and that's fine. That's not what I sell you, but that is what I've had before. Heck, I've had... you remember that when we had the syringes drop behind the desk and we pulled them out? We're like, oh crap, these are like 2 years old, and we used them and they worked perfect. So there is that. There is something to be said about mushrooms kind of going into I'm not sure that it's an actual state of stasis, but it's similar enough. They probably have some sort of balance between anabolism and catabolism, that they basically continually slightly lose energy, but they're able to stave off death for a long, long time. And then in a slant, if you're just refrigerating slants, you can keep them in there for I don't know, 5 years. It depends on the mushroom, the strain, how clean you were, et cetera, et cetera. But I have had slants 5. See, I'm still pulling sometimes from slants that are from 2019 because they're my youngest copy of that strain. And as long as they'll still pull and are fresh, then I will still use them. But I have had some that were sitting out at room temperature for that long since 2019, and they did not last quite as long. Some of those died, some of them didn't. But refrigerated, my 2019 ones are doing great. So yeah, I mean, you like once you get to the cryogenics, then you can keep a strain good for, I don't know, 100 years more. So,
And something else to consider too is, Andrew's very thoughtful about the processes. So whenever he brings a slant out, he doesn't just work with it immediately. He has to let it thaw out a little bit and acclimate. And it's like hardening your plantlings off to repot them, or there's a thoughtful SOP with everything. And so, I mean, if you order something and it's at a certain stage and we need to pull it from slant, then there's a day where it just kind of thaws out and acclimates, and then we have to put it into another transfer, and that takes time to grow out, and then that's put into another one. And we also feed things multiple different types of stuff to keep it nice and vigorous. It doesn't just get, pure candy crack and nothing else.
Right.
So,
Shovel Dougie says 150 liter autoclave. Damn, my 6 liter PC. I didn't get that the first year I started growing mushrooms. And we got that, maybe 2-3 years ago, and I've been growing mushrooms since 2008. So not as an industry. I mean, like my business license started in 2013. I probably started selling mushrooms 2009, 2010 as a hobby business. So, I mean, it took me a while to get to the 150 liter autoclave.
And that was a PayPal loan that we were able to pay back as we were bringing in
money. We did enough
money.
business on PayPal that we got a PayPal loan and then paid it back through our sales. Vance, aloha, you two. Your BS26 turned out great and very tasty too. Thank you, Vance. I appreciate the update. Yes. I'm glad it did well for you. That's one of my favorite strains. So blue.
And how long have we been selling that BS26?
BS26 was bred in the basement op.
Mm-hmm.
So BS26 is at least, so we moved in here in 2020. So it's at least 5 years old. What's funny is I actually thought that it would take off so quickly because it's so blue, but it took like 2 or 3 years before it started getting popular. And I'd say BS26 is just now starting to actually become really popular. I thought that I was going to have to really strain after strain after strain, right? Because I was going to have to keep up with the constant rotation. But what I'm finding is it actually takes a long time for a strain, no matter how good it is, to percolate through the market. I imagine as my name continues to grow as a genetics provider, then new releases will be more popular more quickly, as long as I keep producing good stuff. Yeah, but BS26 was from my first ever cross between, my second ever cross ever, my first ever cross between a blue and a white oyster.
And how many farms would you say have BS26?
I don't even know.
I know it's gone to Denmark.
It's gone to Denmark. It's gone to Israel.
We just shipped one to France.
It's been shipped to Austria before. I think it's been shipped to France before as well.
But I would
say
in the
United Kingdom. It's in Australia. I don't remember if it's on Mongolia or if that's watercolor.
I would say at least 150, if not 200 farms have that strain. And then
right.
I would also say with it being as old as it is, this is the reason why you take the time to take care of it. And I can't tell you how many people have called and said, hey, it died on me 5 years later, or 4 years later, and we're going and we're replacing it. But because we provide for so many farms, that's another reason why we're so intentional about all of the processes.
Yep. What is Eric Myers the best at? He's 2 hours away from me. Like I said earlier, probably the engineering. Like I appreciate his mind and the way it works. His bagger is as fast as our bagger. I mean, when I say our bagger, I mean the Man of War bagger, which isn't really my bagger, but
But we use it. And
Right,
we use it daily. So it's the
So
bag of the
each
week.
one makes about a bag about every 6 seconds, maybe a little faster. His is like $6,000. Ours is like $2,000. The one that we bought. Nowadays, I think it's a little bit more expensive because the shipping, and I think Thor base model is 2,300, something like that. So
He has
I
great
like-
attention to detail.
he has great attention to detail. I like Ben's simple solutions a little bit more, but Eric does a lot more. How do I put it? Like electronics? Like he does the PIDs, he does the sock slit, he does the baggers. I don't know. His stuff is much more stainless steel, whereas Ben builds out of like angle iron, fiberglass, plastics. So,
Yeah.
Be good, get good, or get out. Learn all that you can for as long as you're able. There you go. So sultry, so salacious, so rich. Mycological mastery. Hey, Dr. Solarians is sultry. Might send you all some lion's mane cut down a tree last year. Went to split it a few weeks ago, and almost all pieces have lion's mane all over them. Needless to say, I refuse to burn it right now. Oh my goodness. Temp range teens to the 40s. Please, we need more cold weather lion's mane. I would love that in the mycologium. Even if you want to just send me some fruit, I will take the fruit. Just cold pack it and send it 2 day or something, and I'll send you a plate back. Or if you want to clean it up, get it cleaned up and then send it to me. Ooh, same, ambidextrous. Mossy Creek Mushrooms encourages you and I to go grow some mushrooms. Let's do it. Yes, I do, Hendrix. Thank you. Can't get through very many books. Please write a book on just growing and home strains. You sell isopods? Oh, that's from earlier, yeah. Doing figs and persimmons. Excellent. I'm doing peppers. Samantha and I are doing peppers this year, so spider beans.
We did have Jacob Culver sent us a fig.
I sent us a fig.
So
Yep.
I'm really excited about that.
I've got that acclimating into the warehouse because he sent it to me from Texas, and it was like or he said it was like high 70s, low 80s, or something like that. And I was like, it's freezing here. I don't want to kill this thing.
Yeah,
So.
it just hit like 17 degrees the night before last.
Make go on a walkabout. I was looking at your site and saw the Appalachian Enoki mushrooms. Do you have good luck growing those? They look awesome. I have amazing luck growing those. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can. Oh, that's right. It won't let me share. I can't share screen of just a photo. I have to upload it as a slide.
Oh,
Man, the Appalachian Enoki is the best Enoki I've ever grown.
we really like it, and we just recently grew out white enoki as well, and I was
Yeah.
really impressed with that.
Me too. I mean, Enoki's pretty much it's one of my favorite mushrooms, period.
In fact, we have white enoki in the grow room?
We do. Yo, glad to see you guys live. Are we still doing Monday night chats? I've been missing my Mushroom Fan Weekly. Devin, yeah, it won't be Monday. I don't think it'll be Tuesdays. I think is what I'm doing. I still need to figure out for sure. Very welcome, Slack Tide. Thank you for joining in and helping me, man. X is a platform I've been wanting to build an audience on, so it's kind of nice to see that it's growing every single week that I've been doing it. This is the highest I've had so far on X, and it's cool to be able to see that I can actually pull it up in the combined chats. So it makes me super excited. Yay, time to stock the package box. Heck yeah, Danielle, it's coming. It's definitely coming. You're getting quite the library for your weight and understanding, my friend. You are set. Oh, that was Samantha. All right, real quick, because we've got stuff we want to do, right? And it's 2.5 hours, so there's still things I want to try. So before that, let's check that out. That is, oh man, we're gonna have to take some photos of that. That's the white enoki.
This
I
thing is
will-
massive. I'm really impressed.
All transparency. Oh my gosh, that smells
It
delicious.
does smell really good.
Oh my gosh.
I was gonna pick it. I was like, you know what? It's probably gonna fall in a billion pieces.
We
so I'm
gotta
just gonna
sport
bring the whole
print
block.
that for sure. Now, I won't be selling this strain of white enoki. I will be selling another one once I get this bred. But
And I would say,
we're gonna sport print. We're gonna sport print the crap out of this. But the golden enoki grows bigger than this, I think. But I will really quick. I want to tell you guys. I got this strain from Jake Howard of the Mushroom Shop LLC. Man, I really want to. I really want to weigh that and see how. But don't wait. Well, are you going to weigh it now?
I'll get pictures when I
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say don't weigh it yet because we want to get pictures. So we'll do it later. But yeah, that was Jacob Howard's White Enoki strain, and he sells it on his Etsy store. All right, let's do this real quick. We're not going to go through everything real quick, but I still want to go through that video with you guys, and I want to do the r/. So let's do the r/. Let me make sure that pulled up. There we go. All right, so this is Myco on Reddit. It's just r/Myco. This is run by a buddy of mine, Foxy. He's a guy that I game with. We run the Mush Bros together. Mush Bros being primarily Hell Divers, but some Apex and stuff as well. Might get it back into some Battlefield, that kind of thing. But been a big boon to me while I was sick, that's for sure. Fox and I love going and stomping bugs in Hell Divers and having other mushroom people with us too. Human edible substrates. This is the kind of BS they get into. What are some viable substrates you are aware of that we can consume in the form it is used to grow the mushrooms on? One of the things, just to answer that question without actually answering his question, is soybeans. I know that Sydney Ober-Singleton in Mushroom Growing on Facebook has Morel Tempa, where he grew Morel mycelium over soybeans and then cut that into cakes and fries it up and eats it. And apparently it's really good. So
I remember you when you made that one, and it smelled like toasted peanuts.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
It was actually really.
That was
did not taste good.
It did not taste good. It tastes like burnt hair. But that was that was oyster mushroom mycelium. It did not do well. And then I had told Sydney about it. And he's like, "Yeah, I tried oyster. It wasn't good." So other lion's mane might be really good. So here they've got some apple juice culture. That actually looks like it's growing in pretty good. Golden teacher. Maybe I shouldn't. Big ass cat from Pink Buffalo. Okay, yeah. I knew this would get me in trouble. So there they are growing mushrooms on the Bible. Placed by the Gideons. Oh, the McDonald's tech.
Whoa.
Right?
That's oh man.
Ugh, gross. Oh, they're just growing. Okay, they're just filled the substrate in the McDonald's. They didn't. I thought they were growing on the fries or something. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Let's go into let's break this one down. Yeah, I'm over 18. Let's do this. Mature content, guys. If there's anything naked, I'm going to have to stop because I'm on a stream. Never mind. Why won't you load for me? It's not going to load for me. Oh, no. And now I'm stuck. What's happened?
That's what you get.
Come on now. All right. Well, whatever. Hey, check that out. Oh, that looks like somebody else's 3D printed stir plates. We'll have to talk to Ben about that. It's a very interesting group.
That is cool.
Cordyceps grown on pure egg. I've seen these egg grows that people do. Really would have liked for him to have actually shown what that looked like. So it looks like there's pink oysters. Okay, so it's not all cubensis in this group, though. It's mainly cubensis in this group. That's actually a pretty flush. This will not be the only r/ group we go into. We're going to go into some mushroom stuff. I'm going to try to find interesting stories. If you guys ever find interesting stories yourself, please let me know. Send it to me, Bible Tech. Yeah, we can definitely go over anything that you guys find, interesting. Especially, like I said, you guys are finding, if you want to find, send us videos of your operations and have us critique them, consult with you, that kind of thing. I will happily do that. All right, now, the next thing was to watch a video with you guys. Now, this is going to be something that I'm going to try. I don't know if the sound's going to work, so I'm going to need help. I'm going to have to skip the comments down here to the bottom. I will come back to it. But hey, Jake Wolves is on. Jake, I still have that video that I need to do a breakdown of your operation. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to pull it up here this time, maybe next week or whatnot, and go over your operation if you're okay showing it to everybody. So, but tell me if the sound does not work on this, guys. All right, here we go. This is the one I picked. This is super small. Can you hear that, Sarah?
Mm-mm.
Mm. Oh, you're about to test it. Okay. Let's see. Oh, nobody else can hear it either because it won't even show up. Hold on. All right. Now, there we go. Tell me if the sound should be on. Tell me if this works.
On his own, so
Right, a lot of do-it-yourself stuff, homemade equipment,
Right, you couldn't see
not a lot of space.
but before we do a quick tour, I was just gonna ask him a couple questions.
Well, let's
First
get to the
of
tour.
all-
I don't really want to
Well,
get into the
where does-
questions.
yeah, man. I good light, so you can clean the floor good, the walls good, and this is what I had to work with. So you'll see everything here is just kind of what we already had and just made it work around our practices. But we do make all our
I like that little flow hood.
spawn and cultures in-house. And it starts with this guy right here. There's a tag on it. That's how we keep
Works
track
on
of it.
it.
It's
Sound
usually
works
on the
excellent.
bottom, but that is lion's mane mushroom growing on a petri dish. And we clone our mushrooms.
Okay. One thing I've seen this again. This
And
is
it starts
actually
with
something
this
that's
guy,
not
right?
really all that common amongst people, but this growing or this parafilm on this dish, that's what I would consider a pretty sloppy job on that. And that's most people are new to this kind of stuff. And parafilm, when I do mentorships, there's two things, Samantha, I always tell people are the two hardest things. By the way, your mic seems to be right next to your headset. And I'm picking up some. Okay. Thank you. So you want it to be real thin. Maybe I can do that. I'll do a video on it sometime to show you guys. But, I had a really sloppy parafilm game for a long time. Parafilming your dishes, and folding your bags during production. Those are two of the hardest things I feel like people have picking up. Like I will literally during mentorships have people grab parafilm and wrap a dish, unwrap it, wrap it again, unwrap it, wrap it again, wrap it, unwrap it again. So just over and over again. Sit there. Yeah, we have people practice stretching it.
Finding that breaking point.
Speak into the mic.
Finding that breaking point.
Yeah, we'll have people pull it until it snaps. That way they can really get a feel for it. I thought this was a 12-minute video. It's a 30-minute video. What the heck? Then we'll just skip, like I said. But
We keep track of it. It's usually on the bottom, but that is lion's mane mushroom.
okay, so he's
growing on a
tracking
petri dish.
dates and stuff, which I think is a good thing to
clone
go
our
with.
mushrooms and on petri dishes, then we make liquid cultures out of them, and we keep the generations low and constantly going. And this is a incubated, homemade liquid culture.
Yeah, I hate
that's
the
ready
filter.
to be used. You can see all the
Hate
liquid
it.
mycelium on there. Incubated.
Something that I really have is now he's parafilmed that, which I find interesting because the metal lid should already seal, and that should be tight. So you shouldn't need to do that with the parafilm. That may be security theater there. I'm not sure. It may be something that makes him feel better, but doesn't necessarily do with it. But these kind of polyfill filters, they work. They do work, and I'd use them for a time myself. But the syringe filters are just so much more secure. They pop into place. You can RTV silicone around them. And what we do is just use a drill press or a hole punch, and you can mass produce lids. I mean, just sit there, watch TV, and just pump out 50 to 100 lids in no time, and then RTV silicone them, and you're good. So
homemade liquid culture that's ready to be used.
a
You
little
can see
bit
all the
pellicle
liquid
there.
mycelium on there. That's just sterile water with honey.
And that's the thing right there too with the pellicle formation. You have to really stir cultures if you don't want that pellicle. It kind of looks like that may be an agar wedge.
Honey,
Basically
and that's
floating
how
in
we
there.
make our cultures. Then there's a lot of steps in between. For white, no green, no contamination. It's ready to go to the blocks we're going to show you next.
Okay, I don't like that. Leaning that onto your filter. That kind of bothers me right there.
Which is
I
sawdust
hate
and
to
nitrogen.
touch my filters.
This is the lion's mane spawn, and right here we grow a lot
I
of
really
pearl
hate
oysters
the,
here,
when the stuff
and
gets
blue
bent.
oysters,
The
and this is
the
oyster
middle
spawn.
pieces.
You
I forgot what they're
see
called.
how white this is, and way more aggressive it is than the lion's mane spawn. But
Brittany, I don't have lids anymore right now. I don't know if we're going to get back into making them or not, but Myco lids sell some pretty decent ones, I think.
after that spawn is nice and ready, we move them. What people will call this is a secondary sub.
We
Go
do
ahead.
have a tutorial on YouTube on
We
how
do.
to make your own.
We absolutely do. Yep.
Stray. This is a filter patch bag, and this weighs 10 pounds. A lot of mushroom farms grow on 5.
So we don't fold like this. To me, it takes too much time, and then you get creases in your bag. One thing that I like to do is we like to do a good fold all the way up, compress all the air out, and then just wrap it around and tuck it underneath your bag. We did used to do this, and we used to go through and put masking tape on to hold it down. And all of that was just, again, security theater in my mind. Like, that was me being way, way beyond, doing above and beyond what I need to do. If you just do one good seal and a wrap around, you can have stuff that, like, it'll self-seal. Right, as it heats up, it bleeds, like it'll kind of breathe out as the volume, the gas expands, and then whenever it cools, it'll start to try to suck in, and it'll create a vacuum, and you'll get your bags will vacuum seal themselves. Which is why you want a good crisp edge to your seal there.
Pounds, you get more weight on 10 pounds. That's exactly how, from a place that
that thing is insulated,
their oil comes in them.
I wouldn't like that. Just for the fact that when I would go to work on it, I'd get that pink foam. I think I would do what Ben Dooling of Sporadic has done. I think it was him. Somebody's done this where they took insulation foam board, cut it, wrapped it around, and then did spray foam, and then cut that to where it was all rounded off, and they had a really nice foam insulation all the way around. And I like it a lot
really
more. And
This
it would be the same price as this, roughly.
You just hold it about a half pressure, a PSI.
Oh, and don't pressurize barrels. Don't pressurize barrels.
12 hours, and it's just steam. And we can put about 200 pounds of substrate in one of these guys if it's stacked, layered in there properly and not blocking steam. And we do this about 6 days a week. So we have about a
John, I think that's a
blocks to
great
work with.
idea. We should totally do
I'd also like to say, guys, it smells pretty good over here.
a
It does. It's sawdust. It
mentorship
smells like
sweet
trees
steak.
in
We'll
the
work on that.
forest,
Smells
and
pretty good.
it pushes off a tremendous amount of heat.
Oh, you're saying pause if I'm going to comment? Okay, that's right. I forgot. For me, it's just really down low, but for you guys, I think it does it. The software I use has it flatline. It gets everybody on the same level. So, got it. I'll start making sure I comment. The OSHA screaming at me. I know, right? But that's every mushroom farm I've ever been to. So.
This whole setup here probably only cost about $1,500 to make, and that's about it.
I think I did my pasteurizer for a little over $600, and that include paying Man of War to build us out a boiler. That's a 9 kilowatt boiler.
Yeah, and we ended up just getting a stainless steel,
Like a olive oil container, milk jug, like an old style milk container kind of thing.
yeah, with the hot water heater elements, and we've got the gaskets and all of that stuff. And then the trough is that stainless steel as well? Or is that aluminum?
The trough is galvanized.
Galvanized.
But
you can.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
you're okay. You have these weird pauses where I'm like, oh, 1, 2, 3, go. And then she's like, no, I'm not done.
I had to clear my throat because it was getting to you again. Gosh, what was I going to say?
I don't know. We'll move on.
You can get
Oh.
one dented and get it for like $200.
Right. I think we paid 300 for, or a little over 300 for our, no, we paid a little less, like 260, 270 for ours. But yeah.
Propane, so biggest cost is going to be in energy, but that's how we do it. If you
Okay, they use propane. We don't use propane for ours because electric is so cheap here. We have a nuclear power plant thanks to Y12. And so before the pandemic, our electric cost was only 6 cents a kilowatt hour. Since then, it's gone up to 11 cents a kilowatt hour. And even then, even with our energy price almost doubling, we are still some of the cheapest electric in the country. So
And we have hydroelectric as well.
we do have hydroelectric because of TVA. So we have a hydroelectric. We do use some coal. I think there's a single coal power plant here still. There's some solar moving in, but the nuclear facility is what produces, I think, the vast majority of our electricity. When I was growing up, TVA used to come to the school and would talk to us, and they used to produce like 3 to 4 days a week of our power usage. But because these dams can't be upgraded very quickly or very easily or very cheaply, they ended up like keeping it the same, right? So it's putting out the same amount of power every year, but our energy needs grow. And now they're down to, I think, a single day or less of our power usage here. So it's grown that much since I was a kid. Granted, I am about
lucky
40.
enough to live somewhere that has natural gas on it, that works the best. So this is our sterilization process.
All right, guys.
Okay, so again, another small space. Those blocks I just showed you, this is where we make them in this little room. And we're not making them. We're running these smaller pressure cookers to sterilize our spawn. That must be sterilized. I wouldn't suggest doing this at home. It's not the safest method, but this keeps...
That's another thing, too. Right now, he's got the thing running pretty hot. I would want that weight just barely hissing. If it's barely hissing, go a little longer on your cook time, have it barely hiss. You can go really long on your cook times if you just got it where it's barely hissing and not sitting there actually like lifting like... His
My
doesn't even seem
OCD
to
is
be.
having a field day.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell you're getting fidgety.
It's like, how do you wipe the paper insulation? And isn't the wood going to swell? And is it going to...
Granted, this isn't his clean room, and hopefully he just picks these up and moves them over to where his clean room is. We don't know if that's how he does it or anything, but he is kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. So, thankfully he doesn't have OSHA and stuff and probably limited resources. And again, don't ask me about my electrode boiler that Ben built for us when we didn't have 2 pennies. We literally had to steal the float valve from the downstairs toilet to build the refill chamber for our thing because we couldn't afford to go buy a toilet float valve. So we've been here. We've had dangerous setups. We've had unclean setups. Again, none of this is judgmental, but it is critical. So
weather elements off the pressure cooker and wind from blowing the flame. And we are going to make a little hut to protect that, but this works now. That spawn has to cook at 15 PSI. You can see that gauge on there. And for 3 hours.
Yeah, see, it's just really blowing steam. Also, I would take some citric acid to that and shine that up. But that right there, that's blowing way too much steam. And it's staying at 15 PSI because it's releasing that steam. So what I would do is just back my heat off a little bit and let it just barely hiss. So.
And what do you have in there? What's your experiment?
So right now you saw our colonized lion's mane spawn on rye grain, and right now we're doing some experiments with popcorn. I've grown on popcorn before, and it's worked very well. Reason why we're doing that is because the grain prices are super out of control right now, and popcorn's not. Super
out of control for grain prices. This was about a year ago. Yeah, there was a spike last year, so I can see that. This was from July of last year. So I do remember there being a large run on grain. All the more reason to do the super spawn method, which is half sawdust, half grain. Lowers your cost.
And it's a little bit easier to prep, we're finding out. I'm just kind of waiting on to see what our fruit looks like.
Also, popcorn. I think that is an open flame. He's saying he's doing everything propane, so that would appear to be open flame under there. I don't. He might be using a hot plate. Let's see.
Oh, the turkey fryers we used to have lined up.
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started. Yeah, apparently we're not going to get to see the bottom, so I don't know that he's using a propane burner there. I didn't hear propane burning, so it could be a hot plate. But from the way he was talking, in fact, there was actually, now I think about it, when they were looking at it, this power cord, that probably is to that. Right there's a turkey fryer pot. I bet he is using a turkey fryer right there.
Rainbow Popcorn Lion's Bane. So this is our smallest room and the most difficult to work in with our space, but this is...
oh my gosh, Samantha, do you remember those plastic shelves?
I checked those as quickly as I could.
Oh my goodness, those things were so difficult to clean.
I call incubation or colonization room. And we keep this room around 65 degrees. Airflow is super important in it. And there's fans on the floor blowing air up. There's 2 air conditioners in here, and these guys are just colonizing. And I'll show you, these are 4 days old so far, so you can start seeing the mycelium leap off the grain spawn I showed you, and that's what we want to see. This is where
Look how pretty.
most of my problems always
Oh yeah, it's green, nice.
You would see green. Usually the
one thing I will say is our bags used to look like this, but I'm really we now shape our bags when we're done. Right, as soon as we put them on the shelf, we just use our hands to kind of square them up, and I like that so much more. I feel it's cleaner. Field and forest aggravates me. Their stuff comes in a perfect square brick. It's obviously pressed somehow, and I want to know how they do it because it is a beautiful. Like you could build a building out of these things.
contamination that happens with this is trichodermia, and it's something you don't want to see. You're fighting for the mycelium to win. So that's 4 days progress.
You hear that Kentucky Southern come out where he added a syllable. That's that Appalachian that we always add stuff to words.
This
We draw it out a little.
Draw it out and twang it up.
2-week process. Yeah. You can just see the mycelium die.
How did he shake that bag with no air in it? That bag is obviously shaken, but it is. Where's the air?
Testing those. Moving through the bag. For the mushrooms we grow, again, lion's mane, oysters, excuse me, and king trumpets, they take about 3 to 4 weeks at this stage to finish growing. And it's best to have your block about 100% colonized. This one will be ready next week. You can see it was started on 6/12, so it's about at its 4 weeks. And it's about,
I mean, I would still fruit that. Like, I like to keep a schedule. So Samantha and I will, even if something looks like that, we'll just go ahead and fruit it.
Choose the best side.
Yeah, choose the side that's the most grown in and fruit it. And then what we'll do is, it'll continue growing in as it's fruiting. So your first flush on that might not be as good, but then your second flush comes in. And if you do this every week, eventually your averages all, what is it? You want to average out the mean or whatever it's called. You want to get it to where, it's mostly grown. Like basically you want to get to where you have roughly the same system working every single week. And obviously you want everything to be grown in as much as possible. Lion's mane for me goes in the grow room 7 to 10 days. He's saying 3 to 4 weeks. If I was going to top fruit, then I would probably let it do 3 to 4 weeks. These over here are overgrown for me, the ones that have been behind us. And yeah, it's crazy. Like I would totally just, you just got to keep your schedule. That's the big thing. Sorry, I saw someone's comment at my ADD triggered.
95% there. We would fruit this. This is an
Okay,
oyster, but it's
he said he would fruit that. Yeah.
better to wait till they're 100% colonized. So they're all
Again, I don't know that it's better. Like it would be better, I think, if you were churning and burning, doing a single flush and done. But we don't churn and burn. Some people do. You can churn and burn and do single flushes, and that's how you can get more weight out of a smaller space, is by doing the first flush and first flush only. But really, the best way I like to do, the least amount of work, is to have your room pulled into quadrants and do a single quadrant of that room, because it's a lot easier to clean a section of a grow room than it is the whole thing. To take every block out, especially if they're not all ready or whatever, because you have to pull them out and put them back in. And of course, if you would have to have 4 grow rooms. Excuse me. If you're thinking that you'd have to have 4 grow rooms to be able to keep a weekly cycle going otherwise. So the churn and burn method on a single wall, you can still do that and keep your quadrants to maximize your grow space, because now every single week, every wall is fruiting just the first flush. But, wow, I am really falling apart here. But what I'm trying to say is I like things to average out. I like to get a couple of flushes. I like to get my 80% of value for 20% of the work. And with the churn and burn strategy, you have to put in a lot more work. Though you do get that little bit more mushrooms. So I would only do that if I was really constrained for space. But for me, I'm constrained on time. So I'd rather get that second flush, because that second flush is pure profit. Pure profit. And so I can get that pure profit for no more work than just letting it sit. We pick the first flush and let the second flush go.
I think it's also really helpful to do that whenever you have restaurants that might go up or down a case or something like that every week, and you have like this ebb and flow, and your grow room typically follows that, because if they have a higher demand, then you're picking more aggressively, and then the next week they typically fall off a little bit more, and then your grow room is going to need to recover during that time anyway. So it kind of works out in that regard as well. And just a general reaction, like I see the 2 before. He's obviously put in the time and the money and the skill to build this out, and then he's in an environment where he's obviously got to put in the insulation. And what you don't see is that behind us we've got the exact same setup, but we've thrown Panda plastic, a high-end thick greenhouse white plastic over everything. And I guess this just kind of comes from growing up in homes where we would actually wash the walls every season, like every spring after December. You're going into, you do the spring cleaning, and you would actually take bleach water with soap in it, and you would just scrub your walls down. And, I just really want to just smack plastic up over that and then wipe it. But
well, that's exactly what I would do is
baby steps.
Yeah, polyfilm outside of over the top of that insulation. That way, yeah, because these bags are going to be breathing some moisture, even though it might be minor. They're also going to be causing a heating, cooling effect that might cause some condensation, and any condensation on that paper is mold growth, as you guys know. So, and you don't want that risk.
Putting filters over your air exchanges and stuff too. It keeps spaces like this from getting dusty, or the bags are protecting everything inside the bag. You've got the filter patches on the bags itself. As long as everything's nice and dry, like a setup like this is lovely.
Also, like when you put the bags on the shelves, I'm seeing his are kind of every which way, and some of them are, so like the filter patch is facing up on some of them. But when you put your bags on your shelf, just always tuck your filter patch facing down. In fact, I can probably show it here.
All of ours are
right there. So if you look
right
at
behind you, is a good sample.
All of these are all the filter patches facing down. What I'm trying to keep from is filters always fail. It's a question of when. And so hopefully we're getting these grown out before the filter fails. But that doesn't always happen. And if a filter patch is like this, mold spores are landing, right? And they're just continually landing. It's no big deal, whatever. And then one just happens to go through, finds some moisture, grows through, blooms on the other side. It can be so microscopic you can barely see it. But now you have spores landing in your substrate. Whereas if you had your filter patch like this, mold spores are landing. They're just hitting the plastic. Very rarely are mold spores going to fall and then somehow rise back up into the filter patch. You know what I mean? Especially as the mushrooms gas off, they're going to inflate that bag and create a positive pressure environment. Go ahead.
I'll say too, we hired a youngling a while back, and
stay away from the younglings.
Whenever they would shake, sometimes there'd be a little bit of substrate up in the corner, and the mycelium would be in that substrate and create metabolites. Like if you have all of that and your filter gets wet from the metabolites, then it's all over. So making sure everything's shaken down, the top of your bag is nice and clear, and then your filter patch is clean and clear too.
Yep.
It's really important.
Yeah, I would still be worried about with the plastic, there being some sort of condensation buildup. So actually what I would probably do here is right along these, what do they call those, studs? Rafters? Whatever these blocks of wood are. I would put probably some pieces of 2x4 or even run rails. And then I would use roofing nails or screws which have the washers. Don't use staples because as you open and close the door, the pressure difference will actually pull it from the staples and you'll have holes in it. So if you use the roofing screws,
the hard way.
We did. And then you create an air gap to where there's like literally a drop down and there's like a 1 inch to 2 inch space where air can flow through. That'll help keep the plastic from condensating right against the paper. So.
And are you noticing too on these bags, like the bottoms are not growing in?
Yes, that part of that I think is from their shaking. Part of that I think is from their shaking process because you see they're not making sure the bags have got a lot of air in them. And if they're using that tiny little flow hood, I can see why. Because they're probably having to work. In fact, where are they? There's no way I could work with that small a flow hood. I don't think. But I wonder if they're doing open air transfers or if he's got a production lab he's not shown us yet. Let's see.
In here, like I said, the room's super small. A lot of our racks have wheels to move around. There's about 600 blocks in here at a time, so they're pushing off a lot of heat.
It goes
I bet there's a lot of look at that AC back there.
quite a bit back there, guys.
How do you even get back there? I guess these are on rolling racks.
There's a lot
Take
of
everything out and shove it back in here.
I guess so.
Yeah, some airflow there. Yeah, it's weight. It's a lot of weight in here. What I was telling Nick is like we run these air conditioners until it gets about into the 20 digits and stays there in the winter. Then I can.
Yeah, that's something for sure. In fact, there was a major psilocybin op up north. I remember they got caught because they had window unit air conditionings in every window of their house. That was a car driving by.
Okay.
They had window units and they were running, and it was legitimately like snow on the ground, and they were running their air conditioning units, and the neighbors thought that was suspicious, so they called them and turned them in, and then they came in and found out it was like a big mushroom op in somebody like in one of these houses. So, but yeah, where he's talking about where like it'll get down into the 20s, and the safety third. Sorry, that tickled me. Where the air conditioner is running, like he's got them running even though when it's 20 degrees outside. And we used to do that with the house. Remember how our house would be warm. The floor would be warm above the incubation room.
Yeah, everything was in the basement. We would put a fan at the very bottom of the stairs and blow all that warm air up into
stairs.
the top of the house.
Because it was able to help heat the house.
Our heating bill was like, I don't know, $150 a month. And that was a very large.
But our electric bill in the
brick
summer
Ranger,
would be like $1,000 to $1,200 for that house. Yeah, that was crazy.
Finally switch over to heat, but these guys are.
If it's getting really cold, too, another reason why it might not be colonizing on the very bottom is that those shelves might be cold.
That's true. Yeah, the temperature difference between the bottom of the bag and the top, but that's even true on the plastic shelves. Well, I guess they've got holes in them too.
And you'll find too if you have bags, like you'll kind of see behind us, we put a hand
here.
space.
Let me go ahead.
You see behind us, we can fit our hand through, and we put a hand space in between. You see it more behind Andrew because the camera's more straight on with him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in a cold spot, oftentimes if you snuggle those blocks together, they'll actually colonize faster where they're touching, and they'll start fruiting right there on the side. So that's something you have to watch out for too.
Absolutely.
Cooking and breaking down things, and if you put a thermometer right in the middle of these guys, it would be about 75 degrees or 80 degrees sometimes. And again, we use all 10-pound blocks.
It's like your compost at home, guys. If you got a pit, you can see the steam coming off sometimes.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Those bags generate heat, and they'll generate a lot. Like if you have your bags together in the summertime, you will feel the heat between them.
About 250, 300 pounds of mushrooms a week. So it's all eight, 100 blocks go in, about 100 blocks come out, and that's how we get about 250, 300 pounds of mushrooms a week. So it's all about bioefficiency, and we'll show you that in our grow rooms next.
All right, guys, on to the beautiful mushrooms, the process.
Yeah, where it happens.
Where it
You can
happens.
see we don't have a lot of space. This is the room we were just in, the colonization room. And that room typically should be about 6 times bigger than our outgrow building, which is...
Now, that's true for what he's growing, oysters and lion's mane. But if you're doing something like shiitake, which I thought about doing Hiram Ramirez's op over in North Carolina, where he does primarily shiitake. I watched a video on that earlier. And, shiitake, it's kind of, or maitake, any of these that take longer, you'll need bigger incubation space because they take so much longer.
Super small.
I'm liking the art stuff hanging around. The
hanging
skeleton.
everywhere.
I noticed the quilt square, and at first I thought that was Shrek. I don't know.
Because the green.
Maybe.
Because these guys, when you see these guys come out of
They've definitely got that kind of like, what do we call it? The Appalachian Gothic kind of stuff, where you've got like the skeletons and the earlier they had a picture of Jesus with an alien abducting the cross or something. And
Hey, we've had that same cart.
we definitely had that same. We did that for years. But yeah, there's definitely something about the Appalachian woods that brings out the creep for some reason.
their bags in 2 weeks, opposed to these guys sitting here 4 to 5 weeks. So again, just showing the space, as we don't have a lot, you can still do
I just
that.
want to see the grow room.
CO2 drops, humidity, and a little bit of light. So when they come out,
Hey, that's our shelves.
Ooh.
That's our shelves. He watches my videos. Or he watched someone who watched my videos to begin with.
Look how pretty those fruits are. So he's taking from the incubation room in that wagon and then hand taking it off, transferring it, and then putting it in the grow room.
Yeah, I guess so.
Keep bumping into the mic with my earhead.
Earhead.
Earheads. I am exhausted. I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. I'm sorry, guys.
out of that colonization room, we drop their temperature and we open up their bag. So all the CO2 is coming out of their bag, and now they're getting oxygen. And so the CO2 drop, temperature drop, they think they're reproducing, and they start outgrowing. So from this stage is about, when we move them from our incubation room, it takes about 2 weeks to a full-grown mushrooms, like more like this size. This guy's pretty much ready to be harvested. We just had
See, I wouldn't call that ready to harvest yet.
a big harvest this morning. I should have waited, but
It's always the way it works too. Anytime you've got a camera crew or you're going to do a video or anything happens on your farm, they're always going to show up right after you pick.
It's true.
Isn't it? Oh, by the way, we have to get the pictures to that magazine by tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
these guys have probably been back here for about.
Also, when he touched that lion's mane with his hand, I would not do that.
Yeah, in my head I was screaming, gloves!
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 And that's, I mean, there are pictures of me like videos from the old days, probably when I was about this stage. Oh, I just hit a nerve on my hand. But there was a time when I would do that, and I've got video of it on my channel of me picking lion's mane barehanded. Actually, I think it was comb's tooth. But the big thing for me is also the oils on your hand will damage mushrooms. Will damage, in particular, lion's mane. Lion's mane bruises so easily. Now, if he's going to leave it like that and he's going to pick it about that stage, it's going to be a little thicker, a little denser, a little harder to disfigure. But I like to get mine out where it's got a little bit of teeth, so it looks like a lion's mane. Also, these strains that do all the lobing, part of that's a humidity thing. But Michael Meacham said this video is actually how he found us. That's funny.
Aww.
Do they mention me in it? But these lobed varieties are kind of my least favorite. I still grow them occasionally. But I like the ones that come out in a big sphere, like the Albright Grove and stuff.
10 days. Lion's mane are a little bit slower than the blue oysters. These guys are usually done at
That is true. I found in the grow room. Lion's mane is faster in incubation by like 2 weeks, and it's slower in the grow room by like a week or two.
10 to 12 days.
He said, "Lol, no, they don't." The almighty algorithm pointed me to you guys.
I like to keep, they will grow at warmer temperatures, but we keep this room around 55 degrees all year round.
It's nice and cool in here.
Yeah, like double insulated, and temperature, these guys are so...
That's a lot of metabolite. That strain either does not like what it is eating, or he might have an underlying hitchhiker. It's not necessarily a bad hitchhiker. It could just be something like the mushrooms are obviously fending it off fine. That's white, and I don't see any green spots or anything. But
Could be temperature stress.
potentially, yeah, it could be a temperature stress. So they're like, it's July. Yeah. If they're in July, I could see some heat stress coming in.
sensitive to temperature.
There you said sensitive to temperature.
You can see them grow so fast when it gets a little bit warmer or colder. But again, you grow...
This right here, the tape off the racks, we like to put our tape right along because flies like to land here next to the mushrooms anyways. You're not really going to catch the flies on flight. You want to catch them when they land. This thing, as it moves, will actually kind of keep them from landing. So we put them right here on the stripes. Plus, if he takes one step back, he's going to be in a mess. And I've hired too many women and had my wife work the op.
Their hair.
That get their hair. Oh my gosh, you remember Laura? Like Laura was a teeny tiny little thing, but she would have her hair went down to almost like the back of her knees or something. But
yeah, definitely braid your hair, stick it in a hairnet,
yeah,
something.
No
nicer mushrooms, nicer colors, more dense mushrooms, and when they grow slower. Like I said, they will grow at 70, 75 degrees, but also opens up for a lot of other bacteria to happen in here. So it helps keeps the room clean at a lower temp as well. So we have that's why we can get so many mushrooms, because we have our racking. Yep.
Yeah, pausing it right there, you see that red dot? Those are the washers, right?
Yeah, that's the roofing. I can't tell if that's a screw or nail, but yeah, that's the plastic washer with the. So they have some sort of wrap here. Looks like they also have a seam that they've taped up.
Set up right. It holds 3 10-pound blocks, and we humidify. I can show you how this works.
That's the humidifier. That's cool.
Here's this humidifier.
5-disc fogger for the size room. Super easy to acquire, and then a water.
Pretty much the only difference. That's the House of Hydro setup for sure, and although nice, I like the outdoor. Was it GFCI, GF, whatever. The only thing is, he doesn't have an elevator. This just blows it right out in the open, which in a room this small, I think is fine. For us, we have a PVC elevator that goes up about 6-7 feet and then dumps it out at the top of the room so they can fall, then go all the way out. And then our exit fan is at the end of the room on the top. And then so the humidity comes out, falls down, flows through the room as it's mixing, then flows back up and out. He's probably just blowing it out there. So
I think we ought to critique our own. Take a video of our op.
Actually, what I would like to do is get somebody, take a video of our op, like you're saying, but get someone in and host them remotely. Like somebody, like a peer of mine or something like that, and have them rip let's get Ben Dooling on and have him rip our op apart.
There we go.
Yep. Ben Dooling was the first ever consult I ever did.
Proof fan, and now they're not running so much this time of the year because it's been so humid here and rainy. But they run more in the winter. I almost have to fill these every other day in the winter. And most electronics are on the outside of this room.
Link to humidifier DIY build. I don't think I have a DIY build one exactly. There are a lot of them. I think House of Hydro actually has some of that stuff on theirs as well. That fan's actually it is a computer fan, but it's a waterproof computer fan. The House of Hydro, I think, legitimately sells it as a kit. So
I'm pretty sure that's duct tape. They make it is a really nice vinyl tape. It is more expensive, so duct tape is where
I prefer that vinyl tape though. It lasts a lot longer, and the metallic tape, the ventilation tape, that adheres really well.
Yeah,
and is very washable.
Yes, and you can pressure wash it.
Yep.
So
That's
it's
what
on
I'm.
a humid stat. We like the humidity to be around 80.
Ooh, preconditioning room. Here we go.
85%. That is these
Right
cold
here.
bot units. We have
Oh, this
one
is
on
for
our
his
walk-in
walk-in.
cooler
Dang it.
in both our grow rooms, and all it is a little device that gets the air conditioner to drop below its lowest manufacturer setting, which most of them come at 60, 61 degrees. So that's they're really efficient.
Clever.
Saves you a lot of money with.
Yeah, the CoolBot. They have another one now that's even cheaper than the CoolBot, but that's yeah, I'll have to figure it out.
Compressors.
I can't remember the name of that one, but I love the CoolBot technology.
I like to use these. These do get ruined in a couple of years from spore intake, but they are
right. Yeah, he's got, like you said, like I said earlier, the spore intake is terrible. So you really want to keep these away from where they can get any sort of spores. So like I would not have this blowing into the walk-in directly. I would have another preconditioning space that blew air into the walk-in or chilled it some other way. It'd be a little harder to do, I know, because you don't actually want airflow through here. But there's got to be a way to indirectly cool it, because you really don't want those mushroom spores in your air conditioning unit. It's terrible.
And again, not saying what he's doing is wrong. And, you know, a lot of times, how old is this video?
A year. Well, it's July of last year.
So I wonder, you know, what has he accomplished in a year? Like, if you go back and look at our videos way back when versus now, like, there's such a huge difference. Work with what you've got, you know, and then slowly.
Yeah, he was saying he was doing 300 pounds.
This is like a need versus want versus, you know. 300.
I mean, that'd be $2,400 in revenue a week.
Yeah, so, which is nice.
You know, like even doing replacing $1,000 air conditioning once every couple of years would still be doable. But yeah, what can he do with that $2,400? Now, granted, he said he goes down to $250, so you're losing 400 pounds. So it's $2,000 to $2,400 a week that he's pulling in revenue. Now, I don't know if he's got payroll. I don't know what his overhead is, etc. But
might be paying off those buildings.
Might be paying off the buildings. But once they're paid off, you know, like what can he accomplish by ratcheting that up, putting that income to use further on the farm? So.
And early on, we actually looked at those same buildings at Lowe's.
Yeah, we did. We did for a while.
Disposable, but wait.
Though I will say, Amazon has killed business space. So while rent, like for houses and stuff, has gone way, way up, rent for a commercial space is surprisingly dirt cheap. We rent now. Granted, we got in before prices went up, but our rent is $1,416.16 a month for 6,000 square feet.
We're also really, really fortunate to be as connected as we are.
We are. So, but I mean, that was the price he was asking for this place, no matter what, no matter who took it. Now it would go for more now, probably about $2,000 a month, but we got in before the prices shot up during the pandemic. But even then, like commercial space, the space next to my father's office was about the size of a smallish 3-bedroom house.
$800 a month.
And it was $800 a month commercial
now, a lot
space.
of that is changing because everyone's moving here because it was so cheap. But you also have to keep in mind that wages were, you know, Andrew and I, we topped out at $13 an hour, you know.
Yeah.
Cheaper than actually having compressors and that kind of stuff. So we have there's another one.
I'll skip through a little bit.
Happy cold.
Oh, I hate that when the frequency of the light. I've got a couple spaces like my laboratory where if I go slow motion, it'll like strobe like that. I hate that strobe though.
We had that exact same shelving.
We did used to.
So
yep.
If it wasn't so
Until
cold,
it pulled out of the
those
wall.
things would be more like gray looking oysters. So dark blue. Our restaurant customers really like the presentation of that.
That looks like a Lambert's 123 or something. That doesn't look like one of mine.
And we also keep our king trumpets in here. They like it extra cold. And these guys are top fruiters.
Well, that's not a king trumpet. That's a black pearl. That's the Shimo Fury hybrid.
Opposed to the side fruiters.
Nice dark color
here.
though.
It is beautiful.
So
you get one of the bags like we shown up at the front. At the beginning of the video, you guys seen there was
a spawn bag.
colonized spawn bags.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we know how that stuff works.
And we cut a little X in here, and that's where they come out at. They're going to grow towards the oxygen. But if we did this with this,
Saw a couple little flies. That's still, his room is surprisingly flyless for it being July, and him having like his doors being directly open to the outside. That's surprisingly flyless.
Yeah, our biggest frustrations are fruit flies, like the gnats, and then we get a lot of centipedes and tree frogs in our room.
Millipedes by the hundreds.
Oh, millipedes?
Yeah.
The little tiny ones? It's the
Yeah.
big ones that's centipedes, right?
Big one. The centipedes have 100 legs. Millipedes have a million. You know, not really, but
What's
the
other one?
millipedes are fungivores, and centipedes are predators. They have
Okay.
pincers usually.
a second flush, and that's what you're seeing here.
And fungus beetles.
Oh, fungus beetles. Yeah, like pleasing fungus beetles. Screw those things.
Flush too.
They are neither pleasing nor are they made of fungus.
So first flush, so when we bring the blocks down there for the first time and cut the hole, the first mushrooms that are coming out are
And
going to be
clover
the biggest ones, because a lot of that water from the block and energy is going to the mushroom. So we call this the first flush. That's the first harvest. But this block still has life in it, and once you pull this off,
See that? Like how he's tapping that? If he's got to reach around it to grab the mushrooms. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I don't know where I would put it on these shelves. Maybe over top the blocks. I might put that over top the blocks. Just lay it over. That'd be a lot easier.
you can keep that again for a second time. A second harvest will come out, and that's some.
About mushrooms a bit and watched like a lot. But before I come here, I didn't realize the temperature of mushrooms a bit. There's a lot of
Be done, so you might as well get some extra weight around it.
See.
and once again, guys, there is
Okay, he's got a. Dang it! He won't hold the camera still long enough for it to me to get a still shot. That's gross. You can see he's laid a cloth over it to filter it. Bad design, big time. I would have built off a small preconditioning space and then pulled the air
if you
through
look at
that.
the comments too, Michael says that the room he was in before he went in there is the pre-space, the preconditioning space.
Well, then they shouldn't have an air conditioning in here. Yeah, I would. That's just, you really don't want that in your grow room. Even that's not going to save it, and that's going to reduce your air conditioning efficiency big time.
I can't see the logic there. Like, you just change that out multiple times a day. Every time you're walking in and out and checking on things, just change that cloth. But
Yeah.
again, working with what he has, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Let's finish this up, and then we got to go because we're going to be been on for 3 hours and like 2 minutes.
I gotta make dinner.
And we got to make dinner. So does Myco Mixer. So let's get through this real
a
quick.
lot of cooling.
I'll skip.
Before,
some.
because
Now that is interesting. I assume that is his vent fan, and that it's pulling air out. Though it's surprisingly clean. But if he's got that where he can just pull that out, replace it. He's got that on a timer, interestingly enough. But if he's got that where he
have
can
all our
wash it
lamps
clean-
on that.
We did used to have all of our lamps on that. But yeah, that's an interesting way to go. I don't know how easy that fan is to clean. That's why I like the inline fans. They're so easy to clean. Let's see what he's got
So,
here.
well, you can let it go.
no, it's fine, man. See, all we do is twist it off. Now, I would.
Boom.
The health department wants you to use gloves, and I usually do, but that's all it is.
That was my criticism. I was like, gloves.
Gloves.
And I say gloves because our youngest, our daughter would always call gloves.
She wouldn't now, but in fact, she'd probably dislike that we were talking about her as a little girl, but doing cute things. But he probably what he was just saying there, I think, was that he would have waited to pick that.
Go a little bit bigger, but this would be good
Yeah, to grow a little bit bigger.
for your video. So,
Well, you
That is a nice looking cluster.
Yeah.
I would consider that about prime. I would pick that. That's not going to get any heavier by waiting.
Before that cat furls, there's some strains.
On that, yeah, some strains you want, like Pathfinder,
King Blue.
Cumberland Oyster, Old Road. You want it to flip up and grow. Yeah. And this is why the genetics is so important. Like to you can't just follow hard and fast rules, but this kind of blue oyster, you're not going to get any more weight by doing this. You're not going to get really anything else out of it other than it's going to look bigger. It's going to fill a box more, but it will lose shelf life. His mushrooms are really nice and dry. They're not wet. They look really good. So whatever he's doing is working. In July, to have mushrooms that look that good and be in the South, I mean, I know he's a little north of us, but and maybe up in the mountains, but like that's a beautiful cluster. So,
It is.
Hey Waller, yeah, I'll be getting off here in just a few minutes.
You can let it go.
No, it's fine, man. See, all we do that is, yeah, it definitely is a cluster.
I'm gonna now it's kind of tore up a little bit, but granted, he's not picking it like he normally would. I'd say it's a good 2-pound cluster, maybe more, weight wise, and that's it's gonna weigh perfect. The chefs, I mean, like chefs are most chefs now. It's starting to become more common, but a lot of chefs have never seen oysters like that. You know, so his chefs are probably being spoiled rotten. And when someone else tries to come and take his clientele, as long as he's not letting these things get too old, he's probably going to have these people locked down because there ain't going to be anything much nicer looking.
Sure.
Well, you guys got to see in here. That's very cool.
We can take them to the walk-in cooler next to show them what
Ooh, yeah, let's go look at the walk-in cooler.
Way bigger. Again, homemade harvest totes. These are some.
Okay, I really don't like these totes. I prefer cardboard boxes. You can throw them in your compost pile, but also when the mushrooms sweat, which they will, because they're warmer and they're coming into a colder environment, they're going to condensate in these.
He's drilled holes in them.
Yes, which can cause the condensation to leave. But then also, we've had chefs keep these. Give us, we'll see other farmers with our information written on the side of these things carrying their produce into our restaurants with these. And I was just like, you know what? Let me just use a cardboard box. I can throw it in the compost pile. It's super cheap to do. Just order a bunch of boxes. Like it's just the way to go, in my opinion. So I really don't like these totes, but they're workable, and I see people use them. It's reusable does not mean that it's safe. Like one of the big things for me is like, there are times when reusability is good, and there are times when recyclability is good.
Some of the lion's mane from this morning harvest. I put about.
There's some bruising a little bit right there, but other than that, those look really good.
10 pounds.
That one's bruised pretty bad. Somebody grabbed that with their hand a bit too hard.
These harvest.
And the way I get around that.
Oh, sorry, what?
The way that I get around that is I will pick.
Hold on. Let me
on the side.
Let me biggie size you. Okay.
I'll pick on the side, and I'll put my thumbs up and underneath against the plastic, and then I'll use them like a kind of like a hinge pick, and then that way you're kind of crowbarring it off the block with your thumbs and your fingers on the side, and then you're picking it. How do you explain that, Andrew? You're picking it, and then you're holding it like this, and then you put it in the box.
You're holding it underneath, basically.
Let go of it, huh?
You're holding it underneath, so to speak.
Yeah, you're holding it up and underneath, and where the substrate is, and there's barely any substrate at all on it, especially if you do that one line cut. And you don't touch the roundness. That's all I gotta say, and that works out really, really well.
So we just, sometimes they clean them for us, sometimes they don't. I do. You can see this is lines. They're exhaling gas. So
yeah, see right there's the condensation. So that bruising can actually be caused by condensation. Hericium will be bruised by water. It'll cause some sort of damage for sure.
Another reason to use the sonic fog. Yeah,
the sonic fog is nicer for that. Also, Hericium has a bad tendency to be a sponge. So if you have like drippy drip, low pressure misting systems in particular, those things, your lion's mane will be disgusting. It'll just be water when the chef goes to cook it. He'll have to express all the water before he can actually cook it. What you want is nice, dry lion's mane. You really want it to be as light as possible while still being as heavy as you can get the flesh. But you want that fungal flesh to be dry, not a sopping wet mess.
I will say, too, that with lion's mane in particular, if you're delivering it to a chef where they're working for a restaurant where the walk-in, they've got a lot of produce, specifically leafy greens or something where a farmer will kind of soak them to make them a bit more plump before they sell it or whatnot. with the leafy greens, your lion's mane will absolutely absorb all the water in that walk-in and become a sopping mess, even if you grow it, well, and particularly if you grow it quite dry. So tape your box and instruct them to tape their box completely closed if they have a really humid walk-in.
Yep. Yeah, Devin just said let hericiums go through a dry cycle before harvest. We like to do that, yeah. Sometimes we'll turn the humidity off before we go pick, a few hours before we do. Water droplets from the lid probably. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. Water droplets landed on this. This right here, I would not expect it to be from touch, like someone touching. These on the sides make me think where someone reached around and grabbed it.
It may be too where he put it in at an angle and then it dropped.
It could be,
the other one. There's probably a matching bruise on the other side.
That's it. We don't need to dissect it too hard because it's everyone's got that box.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like he said, he's already harvested and sold for today. So
I put about 10 pounds in each harvest tote. The restaurants use these and give them back. So we just, sometimes they clean them for us, sometimes they don't. I do.
That's another thing about cardboard boxes. You don't have to clean cardboard boxes.
See, this is lines. They're exhaling gas, so they're building condensation. So usually after the next, we do store our blocks in here before they get inoculated, just because it's a safe place. We're not.
I wouldn't consider a walk-in a safe place. It is cold. This is something actually that I want to talk about really quick, and then we'll get off. I know this guy's gone really long, and I really appreciate you guys have really stuck with us. I mean, you've got like 90 people in here right now between the two combined audiences, or three. No, Facebook is not streaming anymore, apparently. Anyways, the point being, I've seen lab techs do this where they've done... They'll make sterile. They'll pour agar plates. They'll wrap them up and then they put them in the fridge. Don't do that. Put them on your shelf. Like make sure they're wrapped up in plastic or like we store ours in Ziploc. That was Alan Rockefeller's suggestion, and that's been like the best suggestion he ever gave me. But Ziploc baggies.
I don't know about the best, but it's a good one.
It's a great one. But the big thing is that if they're in the fridge, you're slowing down contamination. So when you slow down contamination, you can't see what's actually contaminated. Yeah, sure, you're saving your plates until you use them, but then you use a plate that's contaminated that you didn't know was contaminated.
Actually, we'll pour plates, and Andrew will take out of a batch of 200. He'll grab, 2 or 3 of them, one from like the first part of the pour, in the middle, and then the last, and he'll stick it in the incubation cabinet where it's like 89.
That's 86.
86 degrees in there. And that'll kind of give us a quick indicator if that batch was good, So.
Yeah, Devin, you're absolutely right. You should absolutely have alternating periods of dry, humid, rather than constant 80%. For sure.
Doing the same stuff every day. They just stay in here and get cold and never had any problems with them.
I do like this. I would have done the grow room like this. I love this. What is that board called? Penguin board?
I think so.
I think it's called Penguin board, but that foam insulation that's on sided with aluminum siding on either side with the aluminum foil tape, the basically the ventilation style tape. You could pressure wash this room. That I would have absolutely done my grow rooms like this.
And it's designed for condensation.
Designed.
And we bring them out to warm them up before we add the spawn, and that's just...
Also spores. People don't realize this, but mushrooms are putting off spores even in the cold. So, like a spaceship.
Much for a cold storage room.
I messed up there.
Yeah, no. So it's mostly, we usually have a lot more totes in here.
Yeah, so like you're right, Devin. You could get this room really cold. So like having this room, constant airflow, HRV. Like you could get that room chilly. Like it would be. I would love to be able to grow in a room like this if I wanted to grow the same crop all year long, and my energy cost would be next to nothing.
And that's medical electrical piping up on the ceiling and...
Excuse me. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. Whew, my lungs just got a little irritated for a second. Like a spaceship. It's absolutely Spormies. I love it. Yeah, he's using a cool bot. Oh, yeah, you see it in the background there. Interesting. Did they have a cool bot on the other side, too? He may have two ACs running. I think, honestly, limiting strains to constant heat humidity is a mistake absolutely to grow your climate. I think it's better to grow and change your genetics throughout the season. But it does take a little bit more planning. So, and a little bit, it takes more infrastructure and planning of your infrastructure to grow the same crop all year long. It takes a farmer who will be able to read the weather conditions. Oh, we need to start the enoki 2 weeks earlier this year or whatever,
Harvest, and we do have a lot more blocks in here by different days of the week, but we keep, it's just pretty much for our harvest. We do some other mushroom value-added products like mushroom jerky, and I have brine made, and
bags.
So yeah, anything cold just stays in here. This is our grain that we start our stuff on. I keep it in here just in case no bad.
I had to keep the weevils out. You keep the weevils in basically a hibernative state. I like that. That's not too bad. If you got the room for it, do it.
Oh man, the weevils.
Oh, I just
the
use
cake
them
factory.
In the cake factory, yeah. Oh, and that flour and stuff. A lot of people don't realize that Samantha and I worked in a cake factory back in the day. I used to be a cake decorator. I could make the best rosebuds.
We did 60 cakes per minute.
Rosebuds went fast. But incidentally, it's about the same motion you use when you're welding. And that's actually why, I just come from welding school and went to cake decorating. And then they were like, why can you do this so well? I'm like, it's like the same exact motion, like especially making the borders of the cakes. So, Shelly, if you can wait a little while, I would wait on the HRV. I can't say anything about it, but I can tell you that you should wait. There are things in the works that not too long from now, I'm hoping by next summer, may solve your problem. Hey, I'm glad you're able to catch us stream too, Misty Mountain. For people who don't know, Misty Mountain took all my customers. No, I'm just playing. He's right down the road from us.
Oh, wow.
We're in Jeff City. He's in Maryville. Is your incubation chamber specifically for culture work? No, I mean, it's honestly, I got it. UT was selling theirs. It was actually out of the herpetology lab where they used to incubate eggs.
Got it for $40.
Got it for $40. It's a huge cabinet one.
It is.
I didn't know why I would have it, but I got it because a friend of mine worked at UT and told me about the auction. And
You got most of our centrifuges that way.
yep, I love my centrifuges. There is nothing
Microscopes.
like taking heavy whipping cream, running that through your centrifuge, pulling out the solids, putting that on bread. It is so good. It is so good. It's not quite like anything else
See what
on the
Andrew
market.
uses it for.
We'll be here as long as you are. I hate weevils in my bags of corn. Yeah, no kidding. Sorry.
That and throwing a lot of stuff in the dumpster. Well, yeah, we get out of here. It's nice and pretty cold in here.
It is cold in here.
That's where we
See, that's where I'd be living. I love the walking.
Getting a little nipply.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw these get a little nipply for him.
It's like 80 degrees outside.
Well,
so.
we'll see you guys somewhere else.
I was always made fun of in like middle school and stuff because mine always poked out like that in the winter.
All right, guys. So we're at the end of the process. Back around
PSP1. That's a code for North Spore. He's using North Spores for stuff.
to the front of the building,
Yeah, so
and you can explain what this is here.
So after we're done with the mushrooms fruiting and they're spent and that's all done, this is just a compost pile. I got a lot of people coming to grab these every week for their gardens. They really are truly amazing for their own gardens and stuff. I've heard of them reviving people's apple trees, dying rhododendron.
I don't know if you guys saw the video where Samantha and I went to Zephyr Gills down in Zephyr Hills, Florida. His banana grove. He was like, man, his bananas struggled forever. And then he's like, oh yeah, bananas like rich. Is like my mom told me something about bananas like a lot of rich compost. And he just started putting all the spent blocks around the banana trees, and he's like, all of a sudden they just started spreading like crazy. So you should check out that video.
Bushes. It's really good compost, and we have so
Is
much
that
of
pot
it every
steaming?
week. I wish more
Yeah, it is. It's put off steam 2 or 3 times. I'm not sure what that is.
people would get
Like
it.
a
If we don't have
biochar?
it, unfortunately, it just goes in
No.
the dumpster because if it sits here, it attracts rats and snakes, and that's
Yeah, that's something you want to get the plastic off, because plastic will definitely attract. The mice love it. Mice and rats, they will get in there. We had a big rat outbreak one time when we let our pile get a bit too big. We lived right next to the woods, and they moved right in. It's a nice, warm, waterproof home full of food.
It flooded that year,
Yep.
and we had everybody had creek rats. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, creek rats went everywhere.
this is a great extra benefit of mushroom farming. It's still mycelium, and when you move it into another thing, it'll attach itself to that and keep growing.
Well, I'll call it there on the video, but I will point out that I agree with him. I've always thought that the mushroom compost is, while it is valued, it is, to me, one of the it is one of the most valuable products, potentially more valuable than the mushrooms themselves. But obviously it's not viewed that way, right? So our commodity crop is our mushrooms. It's what we sell to pay the bills. But then the real value to our community and the earth is, a lot of that is the actual production of the compost, the spent mushroom
we've used
substrate.
it at the house for like flower gardens.
Oh
and
my gosh.
for pepper
Samantha
beds
had like
and for-
15-foot tall roses.
they were as tall as
And
my house.
The ladies of all over the neighborhood would stop it, and they would just bloom like crazy. I mean, granted, they were knockout roses, but I've never seen knockout roses like this before. And so everyone was like, would you stop by, and they'd be like, how do you get your flowers like this? It's this
And
like
then Andrew
mushroom
planted
compost.
tea roses on the corner of the house where the wind would blow, so that whenever they bloomed,
I was walking through Lowe's, and I stopped dead in my tracks. And Samantha's like, what? And I was like, I smell Gigi. Like I could just smell my great grandmother.
she would wear rose oil and stuff.
Yep. So planted that at the corner of the house, and yes, when the wind would blow, when they were blooming, you would just remember.
Oh.
Well, on that note, I appreciate you guys joining us today. This has been a long one, a 3 hour, 16-minute one. I have really enjoyed this episode. Next week will be our Christmas episode. We're giving away a special 30% off coupon code or discount code next week. And granted, that'll be for after Christmas, right? That'll be an after Christmas sale, because you'll be getting this stuff after the Christmas. This week we did have our 20% off code. Go find it. And of course, every time you order with us, we're now giving out a 15% thank you code, just for the appreciation of you guys supporting us and the projects that we do. And of course, it'll get you some of the best cultures and extracts that you've got out on the market. So with all of that, again, the Christmas episode will be short, because next week I have a daughter who's playing in an orchestra. And so I want to go see that. And it will interfere if I go the full 2.5 hours.
So we're trying to make it up this time.
Yep. So next week will be a short episode. And then the episode after that will be the day after Christmas. And I do plan on still doing that episode. I may be all caffeined up on Pinyon Pine coffee, because that is one of my favorite things in the world. If you guys are looking for a Christmas gift idea. And you can find our shipping address on Google.
Andrew.
I'm shameless. She plays trumpet. She's not happy about it. They didn't have enough trumpet players, so she got slated to it. She wanted to be percussion. Her grandfather, my father, is a drummer. And her great uncle, her grunkle, Dan, is a guitar player and guitar maker. So she's really kind of like,
she's got a cousin that plays the piano. And
yeah, but I think Aislin's really more wanting to rock and roll.
well, your dad is multi-talented. He can do
my dad plays guitar and bass and piano and
Yeah.
drums, but he's professionally he's a drummer. So
Saxophone.
I played saxophone. Dad never played it.
Oh, I thought he did.
Nope, I played saxophone.
Oh.
I'd like to get back into it. But yeah, Aislinn plays trumpet, so she's really excited to get a Christmas. What do you call that? A recital, or I mean, they're doing it as a big group, but for the school. Anyways, we'll be so we'll be doing a short episode next week. The day after Christmas, we'll be doing an episode. I hope to do that one about the same amount of time as what we've been doing. So next week will just be a Christmas episode. I'm just going to kind of get on here, play around with you guys for an hour and a half, talk a little bit about Christmas and mushrooms. So that'll be my research for the next week. And just kind of just enjoy the holiday with you guys. I think Samantha and I will enjoy just doing a short one like that, and then going to go see our daughter, play some Christmas music, probably go out to eat with my parents after, and just have a jolly old Christmas. So with that, yes, I'm a drummer too. Make the school let her do percussion. I will, Devin. She's going to. They said if she sticks with it, she'll get to go. So as always, I really appreciate you guys. The mushroom community has been particularly good to us ever since I got sick. I've been really appreciating, even right now, seeing all of the comments, the well wishes, and the love to see you guys that look like you're recovering. We are. I am back to weightlifting somewhat. I still gas out. I still have a hard time doing stuff. So I am still taking volunteers for a little bit of help to help Samantha out with production because I can't keep up with it all. But things are definitely on the up. And I'm ready to build an empire. So let's do this, guys. And with that,
Yeah.
keep smiling culture, y'all.
Culture.